sexualized. For example, at universities, people get disturbed when a powerful professor engages in sex with one of his students. I'm also opposed to it. But nonetheless, I don't like the application that as long as the professor is just exerting all his authority, it's okay. Power, it's okay, as long as it doesn't get personal. So I don't like, for example, the type of feminism where you are not bothered by power relations, that is, we women also want a proper percentage in it, no? A comical version of this happened in Slovenia, my country after independence, where leftist government organized a group for women's rights, and the leader of that government office set as her first goal to organize a golf contest exclusive for women. Remember that golf was at that point the sport of the ruling nomenclatura. I didn't like this because, you know, the logic was clear. I don't care if the same power relations remain, just I want my part of it. You know, what is for me the worst kind of racism? I say this to provoke you. This patronizing celebration of the other. We, in relatively affluent Western white societies, we like authentic others. You know, the others who are not corrupted the way we are. I remember when I was young, a friend from South Africa gave me a brochure. It was still apartheid, South African brochure defending apartheid. And the reasoning was in a perverted way, very multicultural. It was, but if we just introduce democracy in South Africa, you know, all those beautiful black minorities, Hottentot, Bushman, all these wonderful cultures will be drowned into our Western corruption. The most subtle racism today is not direct racism of you are less. No, it's you are more. We may be rich, but you, sorry, not you, let's say you are some minority, but you live much more authentic, holistic life, and so on and so on. I have some Native American, I don't like the name. I prefer to call them Indian, and all my Indian friends prefer this name. They're intelligent, my friends there. They claim the term Native American is more racist. You know what was the reasoning? I'm sorry if I repeat myself, maybe you know it. They told me Native Americans evokes the opposition nature culture. So we are nature, what are you? Cultured Americans or what? White people. And they told me, we much prefer to be called Indians. At least our name is a monument to white man's stupidity, you know, who thought they were in India and so on. What I admire, my Native American friends, they hate these white liberals who come there, okay, you live your authentic life. Their message was, they told me, okay, then let's exchange our roles. Give me your LA, Los Angeles suburb villa, and you come to live in our city wooden house there, and so on. You know, what I really, this is the most hated, this white attitude of this underprivileged group have some kind of deeper, holistic authenticity, and so on, and so on, and so on. All the minorities I know, and that's where I love them. No, they really want to succeed on our terms in our society. How do we find reactionary racism? You know what was my answer? With progressive racism. Then, what do you mean? Of course, I didn't mean racism. What I meant is the following things. Of course, racist jokes and so on can be extremely oppressive, humiliating, and so on. But the solution, I think, is to create an atmosphere or to practice these jokes in such a way that they really function as that little bit of obscene contact which establishes through proximity between us. And I'm talking from my own past political experience, ex-Yugoslavia. I remember when I was young, when I met with other people from ex-Yugoslav republics, Serbs, Croats, Bosniaks, and so on, we were all the time telling dirty jokes about each other. But not so much against the other. We were in a wonderful way competing who will be able to tell a nastier joke about ourselves. These were obscene racist jokes. But their effect was a wonderful sense of shared obscene solidarity. And I have another proof here. Do you know that when civil war exploded in Yugoslavia, early 90s, and already before in the 80s, ethnic tensions, the first victim were these jokes. They immediately disappeared. Because people felt very well that, for example, what? Let's say I visit another country. I hate this politically correct respect. Ooh, what is your food? What are your cultural forms? No, I tell them, tell me a dirty joke about yourself and we will be friends and so on. It works. So you see this ambiguity, that's my problem with political correctness. No? It's just a form of self-discipline which doesn't really allow you to overcome racism. It's just oppressed, controlled racism. This is the images we see. Poor refugees saved in the last moment from drowning in the sea. That's, of course, tragic. But what we need to do in cinematic terms, Alfred Hitchcock often used it, is the shot begins here and then slowly we withdrew the camera till we see what in old Marxist terms we call the social totality. What is going on? We should begin to ask the real question of who is responsible for it, and I don't think it's only the Western imperialism that is responsible. Whenever something happens in a third world country like Rwanda, Hutus, Tutsis, it must be a consequence of neocolonialism. No, sorry, things like ISIS, things like expansion of Islam and so on and so on. This is not a passive reaction, this is an active project. They are also active agents. I don't think that too much integration is good. I think what we need in our multicultural mixed society is a degree of distance. My ideal today is not to live together with all different races, culture, we all love each other. No, I admit it openly. There are things about them that I don't understand. Probably there are many things that appear weird to them in what I do. I want polite ignorance, and then from time to time, of course, it's wonderful. I claim that extremists looked closely at their life stories. They are not truly excluded. They are deeply fascinated by the Western culture, and they kind of fight with it deeply. They envy it. If anything, this wave of young people ready to fight for ISIS and so on, they react to a certain type of integration which didn't work. I love these marginal spheres where different identities intermingle and so on. This is usually the source of the site where interesting things happen. I'm just saying, don't enforce it. Mm-hmm. It's a catastrophe. I think the only way to fight the destructive aspect of global capital is through transnational connections. The problems we are facing today, intellectual property, ecological problems, and so on, biogenetics, these are problems which can only be properly approached through large international cooperation. I'm a little bit tired of this, how people say, oh, Europe is dead, it's over. Sorry, why then are so many people wanting to? Because they still have this dream. And it doesn't matter if it's an illusion. You know, as we all know in politics, illusions have a certain political efficiency. And this illusion is not a bad one. Europe means a land place where you can combine a certain level of freedom, safety, with social solidarity, minimum of welfare, and so on. This part of European legacy is worth fighting for. This is why the formula of totalitarianism is not, I don't care what you think, just do it. This is traditional authoritarianism. The totalitarian formula is, I know better than you what you really want. And I may appear to be forcing you to do it, but I'm really just making you do what without fully knowing you want, and so on and so on. So in this sense, yes, I am horrified by this. Also, another aspect, this new culture of experts, where an injunction is presented just as a neutral statement. For example, one example that I like, and let's not have a misunderstanding here, I don't smoke, and I'm for punishing tobacco companies and so on and so on. But I'm deeply suspicious about our phobia about smoking. I don't buy it that this can be really justified just based on scientific knowledge, how cigarettes hurt us and so on and so on. Because my first problem is that most of the people who oppose smoking then usually are for legalization of drugs and so on and so on. But my basic problem is this one. Look, now they found a more or less solution, e-cigarettes, electronic cigarettes. And I discovered that now big American airline companies decided to prohibit them. And it's interesting to read the reason. Why? The reason is not so much that it's not yet sure are they safe or not, basically they are. The idea is that if you smoke during the flight a cigarette, you publicly display your addiction. And that is not a good pedagogical example for others, and so on and so on. I mean, I find this a clear example of how a certain ethics, which is not just neutral ethics of health, but basically I think it's ethics of don't fall into it, don't have a too passionate engagement, remain at a proper distance, control yourself, and so on. Everyday racism, especially in our liberal societies, is always like this. Many of my liberal friends have this more complex attitude. I love them, the other. Jews, Arabs, Palestinians, blacks, whoever. But, and it's interesting, it would be nice to make a list of these buts, what bothers you. One standard accuse of my racist, subtly racist friends is their food smells bad. I just cannot stand that. I love them, but then their music is too loud. This was the standard complaint of white liberals, anti-racist, of course, in the United States. Yes, we should help blacks, only if they would not be carrying those big radio boxes with, you know, this is what bothers you. But now comes my more problematic point. I don't think that we should here shift the accent to too quickly culpabilizing ordinary people. For example, recently I followed a debate in the United States where a white woman was walking on the street and she somehow, I don't know how, did she turn around or what, noticed that there is a big, strong black guy walking behind her a couple of steps, and she automatically grabbed her purse more strong. And the black guy complained this was an act of racism. Yes, I agree, but I think it's too simply to just, it's too simple to just blame her. You know, to claim she's a racist and so on and so on and so on. Because maybe that was her experience, not that she was robbed.
So something is clearly going wrong. I'm really sorry for this. Is it lagging? Is it dropping frames? How is everything looking? I am in an extremely bad mood. Breadtube lighting, yeah. It's fine. Looks smooth. Sound is only on the left side. Oh fuck, wait. Let me see. Nope. Whoa, what is wrong here? That makes sense because my audio interface is outputs in stereo, but there must be a way to fix this, right? Mono. Does it sound better now? I fucked up the Twitch link in announcements. Wait. Oh god. Everything today is just going wrong. I'm not actually in a good mood to stream. But y'all were waiting, and I didn't want to leave you waiting a second time. Plus, there's a lot to talk about. You can see that I'm not nearly as excited as I was last time, right? I've got a friend over. Would you like to see them? Come show your face. This is my NB friend whose laptop I'm using and who made the wonderful channel art and who has basically been doing their best to help. We've been going over some points with regards to the gender discourse today, workshopping some ideas. It would be very nice if I had these ideas written down. And I did. No longer do I have them. Because apparently, I was making coffee and something went wrong and there was a blackout, some kind of short circuit. And something's also wrong with the battery of this particular laptop, which we have just these days discovered. I hope I'm not responsible for this. And I hadn't saved the notepad file. And it just disconnected from power and we lost it. And we've been workshopping this all fucking day. So that's not fucking great. Use Notepad++? Yeah, I mean, this is not like my computer. I'd probably use Sublime. I use that on my Mac. But, like, I didn't think it was, like, particularly necessary to go through that. Apparently, I should have done a lot of things. So, that's the first, misfortune, so to speak. Why did the link... for some fucking reason, the Discord does not recognize the link if it doesn't have an HTTPS in front of it, which is odd. Twitter recognizes it, and I probably copied this over from Twitter, so that must be the reason. What doesn't help much either? Mythaldo, I don't understand what you're talking about. The exclamation mark doesn't help? Oh, You mean the link? Yeah. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I mean, the link was literally in the announcement above, probably working, right? Anyway, yeah, I was. Here's the thing: I don't have like a stable streaming setup. Clearly, um, so like I use my phone as my camera. I'm using literally somebody else's laptop. Uh, so I literally like have to set things up every time and then disconnect them and then connect them again. And the issue is, last time I tried to stream, like a couple of days ago, I had been able to connect the phone on USB, which is far more reliable than connecting it over Wi-Fi, which had some issues last time. And I was really happy about that, but it wasn't working today. So this is still using Wi-Fi. We'll see where that goes. A friend of mine has also offered to give me their old iPhone, which should probably work. It's probably a better camera than this one. Although I think this one is pretty decent, right? Like, I don't want to like spend money on a webcam because it feels like it's probably going to be worse quality than this. And it's like, now the prices are jacked up. And like, I don't know. I don't want to spend like 150 euros for something that looks worse than this. Right? So we'll see where that goes. I want to buy a camera. The Sony A5100, I think, is relatively cheap. And it's got like all the features that is necessary to stream. Like clean HDMI and all that shit. And it's only like 370. I think something like that. So I'm like, okay, it's like twice the money, but it's a fucking mirrorless camera, right? It's a minor issue. The audio is perfect. Oh yeah, was the audio fixed after all? I didn't. Exclamation mark in the Discord announcement. Yeah. Video is odd for me too. Wait, what's wrong with the video? Fuck. It's probably the Wi-Fi. Like last night, right? It's a little bit laggy. The thing is, it's not a CPU issue, I think, and it's not a bitrate issue. I did have the previous issue. I thought it was a CPU issue, but it was a bitrate issue, which is weird because I literally streamed at that bitrate last time, and it worked fine. But now it doesn't. Like I don't know what's happening. So I lowered the bitrate, and apparently that did it. So with regards to like, I'm getting on my stream manager thingy, I'm getting excellent quality, not unstable as it was before. So I'm assuming that's fixed. It's a wait, chat pause you to scroll. Audio is fine. Audio is fine. That's nice. So what did I want to talk about? I wanted to talk about gender, right? What?
I'm gonna keep posting Mo in the comments because it keeps disconnecting me.
That's okay. That's fine. You would need a capture card and maybe an AC battery adapter. Yeah, I know. So it's technically more money, right? But it's probably, it's probably worth it. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I'm feeling bad, like constantly asking for money without providing any content. And that's kind of weird because now I'm in a position where I can't put out content without somebody else being kind enough to lend me their PC. And this is why I have this little thing over here, the MacBook Repair Fund. I still have no clue. Maybe I need to explain this situation, right? So, I fucked up an app date to Big Sur on my MacBook. How I did that is rather complex and probably irrelevant. It ended up in some kind of boot loop, and thanks to Methaldu, White Nervosa jumped to my assistance. But, we worked through some things. Nothing has really worked so far because there was an extra issue that we can't really pinpoint whether it's a software or hardware issue. It seems like the screen doesn't really turn on reliably. I don't really know what's happening. Apparently now it's finding smart errors in the SSD, which is really bad. It means like hardware errors, which could also mean that I have a defective model because I'm smack in the middle of all the Apple free replacement programs for defective models. So it could end up costing me fucking nothing, just like my data. Or it could end up costing $400. So, yeah. I talked to... I think Lexi suggested I should probably put like $100 and $200. I put 100. We're never gonna reach that, but whatever the case may be, if you'd like to support the stream, I don't know. We'll see. There's an odd bing occasionally. It just happened 10 seconds ago. Yeah, it's when people ping me in chat. I put OBS live, and it's got the stream chat embedded here. So I'm capturing like desktop audio, so it's capturing that too. Let me see if I can disable like the audio ping. Yeah, that one. Not really. Nope. Streaming is harder than it looks. Who would have thought? If anyone was watching like Vosh or Riley Grace or whoever when they first started out, please reassure me that they had similar issues when they were starting out. So I know that I'm not the only one who's finding this a little bit difficult. I have no idea how to fix this. Just don't ping me. Wait, how do I give you money? I don't know how to use Twitch. Wait, Mar, is that you? Oh, thank you. It's not, I'm not like an affiliate or something. So I don't like have subs or anything. I'm still considering if it's worth getting an affiliate contract. I'll probably be eligible for it if I stream a couple more times. I've reached like most requirements, like the follower count, etc. But yeah, it's through Streamlabs. You can do a donation, which I think is connected to PayPal. I don't know. I'm poor. I've never donated. I'm really sorry. We'll see if I get an affiliate contract. Apparently, you can cancel it whenever you want. So it's not like an auto renew thing. It's not like technically you can ask like for any reason to cancel it, even though it seems like there's issues. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Maybe I'll try multi-streaming before deciding that, and maybe see if that is a good idea. I don't know. Yeah. Also, yeah. The link is like in my about section on Twitch. It has like some other links. I wanted to do like a wish list. So I had this idea, like if someone is going to spam read theory in chat, Well, instead, they can just buy me a theory book of my wish list. Sound like a good meme, but apparently there seems to be no service that allows you to buy people's shit without doxing them. I don't know what that's all about. I tried it, and apparently it shows like my full name and location, not address, but I think like. So that was not a good idea. I don't know what I'll do with this one. Amazon wishlists are anonymous. They are not, or there's a way. I don't know if there's a way to do it to make it anonymous. But everything I tried, it didn't. I don't know. And I looked it up online, and most people had similar issues with this. This is the first thing I tried. Amazon wishlist is the first thing I tried. And I sent it to Liz, who happens to know my docs from earlier on. And she confirmed that it does show my docs. So I don't know how to do it. I don't know. Maybe I'll just, put up like a book depository wish list, and they can just donate the exact amount and say it's for that book. I don't know. I thought it was a good meme. Apparently there's a service, I don't remember. Is it called like Stream Gifts or something? And they were supposed to like fix that issue. So apparently it is an issue, right? They were supposed to fix that issue. For some reason, it's like some kind of VIP only. Like you have to apply and they'll notify you if they'll let you in the program. I don't understand. Plus, they've been like inactive on Twitter for more than a half a year. I don't know what's going on with them. I didn't bother. Is the donation in? Oh, did you donate? I'm not. It should probably pop up. Oh, fuck me. No. Oh, shit. I forgot. Fuck, I forgot to set up the alert boxes. Fuck me. That's what I forgot. See? Told you I forgot something. Fuck. But it shouldn't it show up in the activity feed? Let me check this out. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I had like text to speech. I have like all of these nice alerts, the Zizek memes, and that. Let me see. Yeah, it's a one-time only, Mar. Let's log on to Streamlabs. I don't know. It pings every time the bot mentions the URL? What the fuck? Let me guess. I'm logged out of Streamlabs for no fucking reason. Dashboard. Yeah, Androider. It's because last time I was on the Mac, and on the Mac I had everything like properly set up, so the alert boxes worked. Let me see if I can like do this now. It shouldn't really be. Where do I see my tips? Other than like PayPal. Let me see for a second. Oh, holy shit. It updated in the... Fuck me. Did you literally just donate $50? Oh my god, thank you so fucking much. It's incredibly kind of you. Wow. Okay. Fuck me. Now I feel really fucking bad that the alert box didn't show up. Fuck. Is it gonna show? It's probably not gonna show up, right? Again. Thanks a lot. I think it should work now. I don't know. I think it should probably work now. But I don't want to force anyone else to donate. It should be working now. Let me see if I can get. Let me see if I can get somehow to see like your message or something and read it out. Where? Let me see. Streamlabs. Can you roll me a cigarette? Oh, you didn't even have a message. Okay. Okay. That's fine. All right. I can see it here. That's cool. I really. I should probably have a dashboard, right? Where I can see all those. Stream Elements is not like showing it, so. Okay, I'm logged in. That's nice. Anyway, oh, my donation history. That's nice. There we are. Please let me know if it's really boring to you as I'm discovering how streaming works in real time. Does this count as content? This is not content. No data to display. What are you talking about? What is? I am so fed up with technology. That like I am so fed up with technology. Everything goes wrong. All right, it's avant-garde content. I like the sound of that. I think I missed a couple of pings before. Let me see. Nature fan. Yeah, Nature fan, I am tactically ignoring you because my mood is bad and I don't have time for your analytic philosophy hot takes. So I am going to ignore you. Okay, you asked like, do you have a built-in disk drive? If you do, and the OS disk, you can maybe boot in safe mode and reinstall. Yeah, I tried that. I don't think safe mode worked. Recovery mode did work, but the issue is that it was the recovery mode of Big Sur, so it was basically like it would reinstall Big Sur, which I'm not sure it even can do that with the kind of space that's left, but regardless of that, it just wouldn't do it because it showed that the disk has smart errors, and it just wouldn't even bother with trying to install it, which is really weird because when I did try to install Big Sur, there was no such issue. I don't know. What's that all about, right? It seems really unlikely to me that it happened during the fucked up installation. Like, unless I'm wrong, it doesn't seem like such a software issue could cause hardware damage. I might be wrong. Methaldo probably knows more about this. I really don't know what's going on. But I have procrastinated taking it to Apple or like anywhere to repair it because I really desperately want to find some way to recover my data. But here's the double bind I'm at, right? So if I take it to a local repair shop, I'll probably pay less money than Apple would request of me, right? If they do charge me. However, and they're more likely to salvage my data, possibly. However, if I take it to Apple, now, of course, that would void my warranty, right? Even if I just told them, recover my data, please, just take out the SSD or whatever, that would probably void the warranty. Now, do I still have a warranty? Not really, but I'm probably eligible for some replacement programs, possibly. So there's a chance here that Apple could repair this for free. So this happened when I had an issue with my screen, which was also sort of defective. So I'm hoping that maybe the same thing happens, or maybe they just look at it, because they do this sort of thing. They just look at it and they're like, we're not fixing that. Just get an M1 MacBook for free, right? That would be pretty pog. But Apple doesn't give a shit about my data, right? So I'm kind of in a double bind here, and I'm unsure what to do, hence the procrastination. Let's read chat. Wait. Judith Butler misinterprets people they cite isn't a hot take. I'm not aware of the quote you're referring to, but I'm highly skeptical of judging people's work based on one out of context quote. This applies to academics. This applies to streamers. To every sort of public figure, really. And people do miss, right? So if I think there's anything valuable in someone, I'm not just going to dismiss it because they fucked up somewhere else, right? Which, again, I can't even judge without not knowing, like, the full context of this quote. And now, I'm not like a hardcore Butlerian or anything. I have to admit something. I did lie. I deceived you in the announcement. I have not, in fact, solved gender. I don't have a coherent theory of it. But I can give my takes, right? At least in response to the debate and the points made there, right? Which would have been much better to do if I had my notes. But shit happens, so we'll have to roll without it. If you go down to it, I think I'm more of a Deleuzian. We'll get to that. But I don't know, like, gender is complicated. I really think most people, or like anyone, has solved it. It's not like, and this is what frustrated me to get like into the Riley drama. This is kind of what frustrated me with Riley's attempt. It's that she really wants to pin it down and treat gender as if it's some kind of empirical measure that you can just, or an empirical metric that you can just easily quantify and measure and say, this is it, right? We found it. I really don't think it's as easy as that. I gave you the context. I didn't read the whole thing, my friend. I was trying to get the stream going, so maybe I'll go back and chat and see what you were actually saying. But again, I do not tend to dismiss people that I think have some good points based on like a few misses of that. Like, don't go too far. Like, even with content creators, like, there are things I disagree with Vosh on. I still watch him. There are things I disagree with Destiny on, and I still watch him, much to Mythalda's distaste. But it's because I think they have something valuable to offer, both to me and to others, right? And I generally treat most things like that, which is why I'm not like very confrontational in much the same way as I've seen people being in these spaces where I'll just dismiss someone so blatantly. I tend not to do that, right? If someone has one, like, even like Peter Coffin, who has just been a complete bad take machine over the last few months, right? I still follow them on Twitter, like, once a month they have a good take. Okay, right? I think I even followed Angie Speaks before she blocked me. But yeah, I don't really care. You know, it's not like you have to marry the content creator, right? And you don't necessarily even have to like them. They can be an asshole. Case in point, Destiny, who can be a bit of an asshole, truth be told. But that just won't stop me from appreciating some parts of their work, right? You can go and get a diagnosis for free, say, hey, this might need repairs. Can you diagnose it and let me know? Oh, it's definitely, I think the local repair shop does have a diagnose service, but I think it's $40 or something, which, who is ringing? Why are you ringing? Is it the Destiny thing? Average Destiny and Washington. For what is worth, I can understand watching him for comfort. It's not necessarily for comfort. I'll probably elaborate at some point. I think I'll make some videos. I'll talk about it on stream and then probably post those videos. It'll be 2 videos, why I defend Vosh and why I defend Destiny, so that I don't have to every time, go through with this when someone is like, oh, you like this person, canceled, right? And the issue is, it's kind of hard to so here's what I mean. So for example, I like Liv posting, right? I like her streams because she's the only other postmodernist in the streaming community. And she's a little bit farther left than Sogdem, although I've heard she's sympathetic. And I think she's rather cool. I think she has good memes on Twitter. And I think her podcasts are really insightful. So I defended her when Mouthy dunked on her for a meme she made on Twitter. And then there was Merrick saying, well, okay, Liv is not cool because actually she joined in on the hating Merrick meme. And the thing is, that sounds really shitty, right? But I don't know the context of this. I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know what Liv's actual opinion of this is, right? It's really hard for me based on hearsay. And it has nothing to do with believing someone or not. It's not a thing Merrick's lying to me or anything. It's just that when I choose to talk about something publicly on my stream, I want to be sure that it's a position I can defend, right? So if, for example, someone comes up to me and says, this person did this and this thing, so why are you defending them? And I stop defending them, or I say, oh, fuck this person, they did this. If I haven't seen it myself, I don't feel comfortable defending this, right? I'll keep it in mind, but I don't feel comfortable defending it, right? I feel comfortable defending what my impression is and what my intuition is with regards to what I see. That's all I can do, trust my judgment. And I take these things into account, but you never know, how many misunderstandings can happen on, Twitter, which is basically, this broken telephone. And this, happens, all the time with Vosh, for example, among others. And I really dislike, and I'll, again, talk about this at length sometime, the thing I dislike about cancel culture isn't precisely what most people find annoying about cancel culture. What I dislike about it is that it's not exactly the people making the accusations or attempting to cancel someone. So, for example, people, usually talk about Corvidae as if he's the monarch of the woke scolds or something. And I don't really like this narrative. My problem isn't primarily with him. My issue, for example, is always when these little factoids out of context circulate on Twitter like a game of broken telephone, and people, instead of going through the trouble of confirming what they heard or like understanding the context behind it, jump on the hate train, right? Just to be on the safe side. And I fucking hate this, right? I find it so intellectually dishonest, right? I just heard something, and because I want to be on the safe side, I'll just, I'll just take the least objectionable take, right? Better to be safe than sorry, right? This is what I hate. This is what really triggers me, right? Because I've seen it. I've seen people dismiss others on this basis. And they have no idea what they're talking about. So I really, really, really try not to be that person and to make sure that I always have a well-rounded opinion when I'm talking about someone, right? And to refrain from expressing an opinion on a matter that I don't have all the context or all the information. And sometimes it can be almost impossible to have all the information. Anyway, I hope you understand that, right? For what it's worth, I will try to educate people on if I find someone dangerous, but if they don't believe me, I don't hold it against them, depending on evidence situation. Yeah, here's the thing. It's not like I don't, believe you or anything. It's not that. It's just that there's so many things going on. Like, information gets filtered through so many different channels before it reaches me, right? I want to see the source and make up my own mind if I'm expressing this opinion on a public platform. And again, I'll keep it in mind. I'll be more suspicious, right? I'm just going to refrain from immediately going, oh, fuck that person, right? So yeah, leftist online discourse really needs to take a Xanax and be a bit more charitable, or we're never gonna get anywhere. Yeah, that is very true, really. Right, that's what I mean. Don't believe in the context of it. I don't have the information. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why Nightbot keeps pinging me. Have a hint of spine? Are you talking about, like, me or... Wait. Elena Scarlett, so happy for you, missed you? Are you who I think you are? I have a suspicion. Are you someone I know IRL? It's like what we spoke about, how it should be more common to just say, I don't know enough to make a judgment on it. Yes, precisely, Androider. I want to encourage people saying, you know what, I don't know enough about this. Like, I'm reminded of Forrest's pinned tweet that says, please inject some pragmatism into your politics. And I really want to say, like, please inject some self-doubt into your politics. It really bothers me how everyone is so super fucking confident on everything they say. Like, I don't know. I think self-doubt is really, really important. There's probably something here relating to the Dunning-Kruger thing, right? The more you know, the less confident you are about what you know, or like, the more information you have, the more you understand what you're missing, right? The more you understand what you don't understand, right? So that's probably, I don't know. I'd like to encourage people to, like, I don't know if people have the time for this. I just sit around all day, so maybe it's like a privilege of having this much time to think things over. But, like, please, for the love of God, relentlessly question the things you believe. Please. please inject the ability to search out criticisms of your position into your epistemological framework. Yeah, kind of. I know this is probably a dig at me, but like, unironically, yeah. Do search out criticisms. You know, I used to be a libertarian, like a right-wing libertarian. And one of the ways I let that go is because, and this is the thing, I don't understand why people don't do this. Like, why don't people go out of their way to, and I don't want to sound all poppery, but like, to falsify their positions, right? If anything, like, there's two possible outcomes. You know, either you find out that your position is wrong, and now you have the correct position, right? Like, you're still getting out of there with a better position than the one you began with, or you realize that, okay, this argument doesn't, hold up to scrutiny, so I can, appropriate this into my framework and move on, still holding that position, right? I can incorporate what I heard and like, oh, now I know what the answer is to this. And now I feel stronger in my position, right? So these two outcomes are both positive, the way I see it. It's like, why wouldn't you do that, right? People don't seem to do that. So even back then, like, I wanted to be sure, right? I wanted to be sure that I wasn't going on and saying bullshit, right? Because I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to be always right. I do want to be always right. That's the point, right? If you do want to be always right, that's what you should do. Like, this is the most reliable way. And so, yeah, I looked it up, and I was like, okay, is there empirical evidence for this? Is this, like, how society actually works? And I found out, well, nope, actually, that's not how things work. And I dropped it, right? Like, okay, this doesn't work. Let's shift my position, right? I don't want to brag too much about this. It's just, I really wish people did that more. Mic distance? Wait, am I too close, too far to the mic? What's going on? Nozick is pretty cool. Weimer is okay. The rest suck. I never really got into reading like actual libertarian theory other than like Ayn fucking Rand, who's a joke. But I heard Nozick is at least somewhat decent in his understanding of some things, at least in relation to others. That sounds pretty Hegelian of you. Yeah, incorporating the view. Yeah, that's actually the image I have in mind, right? I think there's a sense of shame in being so invested in an idea and then realizing you were wrong. Most people don't want to be wrong. Yeah, but that's how you'll most reliably get the result of being right most of the time, right? You sacrifice being wrong a couple of times, to be able to be right the next time, right? And the more you do this, the more right, whatever that means, you're going to be. Sometimes you leaned back enough of it to become quiet. Oh, all right, maybe I'll turn up the gain a little bit. I do that a lot. I think I'd make more philosophically coherent right-wing, a more philosophically coherent right-winger than 99% of them. You good? I think we all want to be right, especially you, IRL, so I get you. So you are who I think you are, right? If so, hi, I've missed you too. It seems like the news that I'm streaming have fucking spread all over my city and to all of my acquaintances. There are people from high school, like, messaging me and like, what the fuck, you're streaming? When's the next stream, right? Which is cool, I guess. Nizik literally didn't even do political philosophy. He mainly did epistemology. Wrote one book in Polyphile and pieced the fuck out. Yeah. Good. I haven't read much about him. Back when I was in my libertarian days, I did want to read like the what is it? State Utopia Anarchy, like Anarchy State Utopia, right? But I didn't, and then like I changed course. So, but I'll probably read it sometime. Bragging about changing opinions is quite a positive message, I'd say. Yeah. I just don't want to sound like I'm what's the expression? Tooting my own horn? Is that the expression? That's probably the expression, right? So everyone should be able to change a position once they realize, yeah. Don't know, man. Nazik was a Chad. Imagine having IRL friends that are actually cool. My friends are cool, indeed. They are. No, they're not? What do you mean? By what standard?
My back hurts. I'm on the bed.
What is this like? Zero friends are actually pretty solid and cool. They are. You are.
I take a lot of pride in not being cool.
I mean, the traditional sense, like, I don't know. What do you mean by that? Yeah, so I have 2 pets lying in bed right now. All right. Yeah, my friend is extremely old, so their back hurts. Long link, small image. Okay, so how much time has it been? Fuck me, it's been 1 hour since it's been up. All right, we probably have to get to the Riley drama. I'm procrastinating. We probably have to get to it. Do you want to get to it? I'm procrastinating because I don't have my notes and I don't want to fuck something up because gender is fucking complicated. My IRL friends are cool, but not like internet cool, very disconnected, lol. In the sense that they're not very online, right? Because I wouldn't say like my friends are particularly internet famous, unless we count online friends like Liz, who is Twitter famous. I don't think you know who I am, yet my back does hurt. I'm not talking about you, actually. I'm talking about Nick over there, who just crawled up in bed with my other pet. Are you not who I think you are? Who are you? Drop a hint. I'm curious. You're gonna make me check out your profile. I know, but still sympathize. Wait, what is gender discourse? How many genders are there? I don't know, I just got here. Yeah, Biden, there are at least... Yeah, right? Yeah, so I was correct. That's who I thought you were, right? I was correct. All right, we need to get to gender. Gender is an element of a Hilbert's face. Oh, no analytic memes. Please, pity me. Please. I have some takes that do delve into some analytic shit, but I'm afraid you'll find them objectionable, and I don't know if I'm equipped enough to respond to you, which is nice. It's a physics meme. Yeah, it's a physics meme, I know, but I don't know how serious you were about it. Are there any analytical philosophy perspectives on gender? I'm certainly not aware of them. This is wholesome and adorable. Let's see how long that lasts. Wait, what is? Like the me talking to chat and like not actually doing content, or 0% serious, and there are absolutely analytic perspectives on gender. Dworkin, is Andrea Dworkin an analytic? Does she count as analytic? So 10K. How do you know? But you know Hassan and Destiny. You seem pretty online, right? You seem very online. I hope to debate. I'm actually probably going to debate Destiny at some point because Destiny just takes up anyone for debate. Hassan is a notoriously bad debater. He's really bad. I'm sorry. Don't clip this and send it to him. I don't want to burn bridges like that. But he's not good at debating. But Destiny, I think I want to talk to Destiny about means testing. I've been meaning to for a long time, but I've never gotten around to like compiling a document. So content is also for nerds. No, like, I love you too. We're so busy figuring out shares. Oh, we're so wait, do you identify with the analytic tradition? I would assume that you do, considering that you consider psychoanalysis to be a scam. I forgive you for this take. Your donation made me forget all about your objections to psychoanalysis. I'm here to broaden my mind. I think don't know much about the gender debate. In general, would like to learn. That's delightful. See, now there's someone who doesn't have an opinion on gender, and now I can talk, confidently. But there also seem to be people with opinions on this. It seems really, I'm delaying this because I don't want to disappoint anyone. I don't want to let anyone down, because it just seems like I was talking about it on Twitter. It just seems like every single person I talk to has a different conception of gender. It's like, whatever avenue I take, however I approach it, there's going to be someone that's going to be mad at me. Bola can be bought? What? Opinion haver here. But a lot of drama. Yeah, it's very funny that I literally have opinion haver in my about. Is the video lagging for anyone else? Because I'm seeing like some pretty extensive lag here. So you just spit it out. That was referring to you saying that Dono made you forget bad takes. Oh, board Lacanian. Okay. So much for intellectual honesty and integrity, right? It gets some lag spikes from time to time, right? The video gets desynced. Yeah, that's kind of the issue. It's the same thing as last time. I'm afraid I haven't been able. Next time you'll streak, I'll drag my boyfriend the degenerate life to debate with you. So drop a stream schedule. Yeah, I'd love that. What are we debating? What's the last time? The last time I saw you, we were debating something, weren't we? Weren't we talking about like Ben Shapiro and whether or not he's like a white nationalist or a white supremacist or something? And then we talked about like healthcare and AIDS and right the discrimination and like homosexuals against homosexuals in blood. And donating blood. I think that's what we were talking about. But yeah, stream schedule. I can't drop a stream schedule because at this point, first of all, I'm kind of testing out like different time slots and seeing which one works the best. This clearly isn't a good time slot for my neighbors. We'll see if they're upset tomorrow. I don't want to like... I don't know. I think Vosh has like the best time slot that like literally everyone can watch, but he streams that, so that's kind of like nobody's gonna watch me if I use that time slot when he's also streaming. And the other reason I haven't figured out the schedule yet is that I'm currently without an actual streaming setup because my MacBook is fucked. So once we get that sorted out, we'll see. We're debating. You started. We were debating. You starting to stream. We were talking about this. I don't remember. It was, I think, like, before a certain... This was back before fucking September. I don't think I took starting a stream seriously back then. Also have a bit of desync. I just finished some physics work after hours. How come all the physicists have congregated in my community? Like, it's just... I've taken a hiatus from my university for like a year now and going. So, like, everything that reminds me of physics is like, please do not remind me that I need to go back to that. Because here's the thing. I am extremely tired. Did I say this last stream? I have a feeling I said this last stream. I'm extremely tired of the academic environment, the academic process, right? And the social relations and dynamics. Like, I can't stand it anymore. I don't know. We'll see where that goes. Don't call me a physicist, just a physics student. Yeah, okay, like, yeah. Physics student, that's fine. I like Factorio, does that count? Wait, I'm always, like, rambling, and I don't know what people are referring to in chat. Does that count as what? Stavroxy isn't here, is she? I wouldn't know. It appears like there's no way to see who is actually viewing your stream unless they're in chat. I haven't found like some way to see who's watching right now, right? Unless they're in chat. Count for physics. I have no idea what Factorio is even about. I have some very hot takes about gaming, and Twitch is not gonna like them. I don't understand why people play Minecraft or Factorio or like what other shit does Destiny play that I don't ever. These kinds of games that are like with building shit and stuff like that, I don't get it. I usually like more surreal games that are, you know, the kind of games that gamers hate, like walking simulators, right? Usually with like an element of absurd horror, something that taps into the Lacanian real, if anything is grasping what I'm saying here. Think like David Lynch's work, but in games, right? Or generally, you know, something that is narrative driven, you know, if it's not like that. Lacanian, have you played Hades? I am not a gamer, I'm afraid. I have not played Hades. I've watched others play Hades. I want to play Pathologic very much. Pathologic 2. I want to play Disco Elysium. What else? The thing is, like, I have a Mac, so like nothing fucking runs there. It's okay, you're young, you haven't got a lot of experience with different things. I'll probably try it at some point, right? I'll probably try something. We will see. Once I get a PC, I'll be able to play then, and you know, I'll try out different things, and we'll see. I bounced off Hades hard because it's made for people who are new to gaming. It is? Really, nobody dislikes Hollow Knight? Hollow Knight seems nice. Disco Elysium is one of the best written games I've ever seen. I've heard so, right? People seem to like it, especially lefties seem to like it. And I've seen some of the references they used. This was interesting. I'll donate if you play Valorant. I've heard of Valorant. I have no idea what this is. Apparently it's very popular. Like, I watched a lot of, you know, very basic how to stream videos, you know, alpha gaming and that shit. And, you know, it's used as an example of a game you should not play because, like, literally everybody plays it and nobody's going to watch you. That's the only thing I know about Valorant. And absolutely confirm, Hades wasn't made just for new gamers. I literally helped make it. Wait, what the fuck? You were a developer in Hades? Wow, that's Pog. Fuck me. Wow. Valorant is a reaction-heavy shooter with a bunch of complicated mechanics. Huh. And wait, I'm not a dev? Wait, so, I mean, apparently you made it sound like you played some part, right? Not necessarily like a dev, but some part. Hollow Knight might be my favorite game of all time. I'll give it a shot at some point. It seems fine. It seems fine. Just games that are like building, it's just not very much for me. I'm really not a person who likes building things, like at all. Which reminds me, people have been telling me that I should buy a PC, and I definitely should when it comes to like streaming. But I don't want to build it. I don't want to build a PC. It's just the idea, and this is probably gonna trigger some people. The idea that like I'm gonna pay so much money and I'm still not getting a fully polished, ready-made commodity is just offensive to me. What the fuck? It annoys me when it comes to like furniture as well, but I can understand that you probably can't like ship a bed, right? Or like get it through the door if it's already assembled. So I can excuse that, but I don't know about PCs. I don't know, just like really annoying. I wanna open the box and get to play with it, right? Not have to spend 3 hours making it and being very anxious about if I fuck something up. Stop being bougie. Yeah. I'm afraid that my desires are still edible and still within capitalism. Since we are within capitalism, you might as well enjoy your symptom, right? Like Zizek says, you might as well enjoy the commodity, right? Idea of building a piece of myself makes me want to die. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Hollow Knight runs on a Mac. I can assure you it's not going to run on my Mac. Easy 2-3K in Valorant and make money. Yeah, bro. If you're having 2K and 3K, people watching you, you are going to make money, right? Inevitably. Building one is just a good way to get one that's a lot better than you could buy at the same price, really. That's how I look at it. Yeah, I've heard so. That's probably true, right? Destiny has been advertising this like custom building company, Artesian Builds. I've checked them out. They're quite expensive, but they look nice. They're nice. If I did have the money, I'd probably get it from them. But they're pretty pricey. I don't know if it's just the parts or, they are overpricing it. Probably, if I eventually make enough money off of this, I'll probably get one. I don't know. We'll see. It's absolutely true. They're not as much currently because a ton of parts are sold out due to mining and lockdown. I've also heard about this, that some prices are jacked up for some things right now. What can you do? Truest take? Is this about the PC? Then Little Nightmares content. Little Nightmares content and fun. What is Little Nightmares? Is it a game? I really didn't want to be on camera smoking. Like, my parents don't know about it, actually. And I'm always very insecure about being caught on camera smoking. But, like, it's completely impossible to, like, manage the anxiety of running a stream without smoking. So, fuck that. And my parents don't speak English. And they don't know my handle. So, fuck that. They'll never know. This is so high school, right? I should be able to tell them. Fuck this. Parts are nuts, especially right now. Yeah. Destiny's partner and gets contracts. That is true. But the thing is, like, he got his own PC from them, so I think Destiny used to do the thing where he built computers for people, for like fans. I don't know if he was paid for it or not, but I remember that he was doing this at some point, and like now I think when someone asked him about it, he simply recommended artesian builds. I don't know. I mean, if it's good for Destiny, it's definitely good for me, right? Was he too opinionated for Twitch? Oh, you meant partner on Twitch. Yeah, he had a take. Yikesy take. When people reported him and he lost his partnership. He's still streaming, but without like a contract. I mean, he still makes a fuck ton of money, right? Yeah, it was the Carl Rittenhouse take. Yeah, that was some drama. Oh, your mom knows your handle. Sorry, I pulled your stream after we were done in bed. That's a good dunk. How do you speak such a good English when your parents don't? A couple of reasons. Like, I grew up being very curious about stuff. So, here's the thing. Like, Greek Google and Greek internet, especially back then, had literally none of the information I was looking for. And so I was kind of forced to go along and use the English Google and pages, etc. The English internet. So even though I didn't necessarily understand, I picked things up from context. And I think that's probably like the best way to learn things when it comes to, or like to learn a new language, is by understanding the meaning of words through their context, right? Hello, Cecile. Instead of just having like everything translated back to your own language, which I don't think really works, and it's not very intuitive. So this was one thing. The other thing is I was always really obsessed with America. And I always like consumed American and some British media. So that was also a thing. I read books in English. I had really good teachers in English. So it's a variety of factors. It's heavily taken out of context, but it was still a dipshit take. It was kind of a dipshit take. In Germany, it's the same. I never even search for German things unless I want local info. Earlier, you said eatable? Opinions being digested. Wait, what did I don't remember saying this at all. Opinions being digested. I didn't say eatable. There's no way. Like, I would have said edible or something. There's no way to eatable. I probably said something else that sounded like that. I don't know. The imperialism simping? With regards to what? Oh, America, right. It's very funny, because every time I'm going to debate like a conservative, they're going to say, you don't love America or something, or like you just hate America. I can just retort with like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I fucking worshipped like America for my whole life. I wanted to move there my whole life. Fuck you, right? You have no idea who I am. Although, to be fair, even when I was young, I was very much against like American imperialism. Did I mention it last stream? The military shit? I think I did. Imagine being a European internet user. Have you considered migrating? Yeah, of course. I'm getting out of Greece as soon as I can, Mar. Like, there's no way I'm staying here. I've known this since I was fucking 6. It's so weird to me that the vast majority of people don't even like consider this and are like, well, I guess I'll just stay here, because that's where I was born. I never understood that, right? Because I kind of decided this very early on. I was very displeased with Greece very early on It just can't give me what I'm asking. Have Germans asked me, why do you even care about American politics anymore that Biden said? Yeah. I always talk about American politics with like fucking everyone. But at least, it's American politics, like the entire world is like affected by it, so you can sort of justify it that way. But I'm definitely much more invested in American politics than I'm in Greek politics. But also what you said about like the German internet, I would extend this to German pop culture because I did actually learn German at some point, and I even have like a B2 certificate. However, I don't remember shit right now. And the reason is because I was never like exposed to the same amount of resources, and I never really needed to, right? And the thing is, there's just so few, sources of like German media to draw from and to watch like for entertainment. To have this like unconscious thing happening where you sort of intuitively start to understand what things mean and use them, and you understand like intuitively how the syntax works and the expressions that are being used, etc., etc. I never had that kind of exposure, which is why I don't really remember much of the German that I did learn. I've been to Germany a couple of times. It's fun. Interesting. Kids are meant to be really good at being multilingual. If you speak two languages to them, they're learning to talk. They learn incredibly easy. Yeah, that's true. I've heard of that. You say cultural supremacy happening because of poor internet in other countries. Our internet is indeed shitty. This kind of connection that only goes up to 5 megabits per second in upload speed and 50 megabits per second in download speed. This was the best I could get here, specifically like where I live, which, I mean, it works, so I don't have any complaints, but non-English Google is terrible, except maybe Spain and French. That's probably true. Bored Laconian? Where is entertaining Laconian? Entertain me. I want to be entertained. The true neocon take is thinking that Canada needs to be invaded in order to support our interests globally. Isn't that like the plot of Infinite Jest or something? Or not? No, it's the opposite of that. It's that Canada is already in like the United States in some kind of union, and there's some terrorists that want to break that union. I think so. I started reading it on like my phone, but I want to buy it. I really liked what I did read, but I don't want to read the entire 1,000 pages on my phone. Germany is pop culture. Yeah. Sadly, as lefties, we need to topple America to some level before being able to make any progress. Yeah, to an extent. When people ask me how to learn German, I can't even refer them to good movies, series, or even books that aren't shit like Discourse. Yeah, learning German just to read like the original Marx. I don't even want to read the original Marx in the translated Marx in English. I would want to read Hegel though. That should be fun. There's definitely like concepts that are probably not very well translated, right? That probably work better in German than they do in other languages when it comes to like Hegel. I think so. Everybody should learn German. You speak so many languages, I swear. I know nobody that doesn't speak anything other than English. But my dad could speak like Turkish, English, German, and Albanian. Wow. But English speakers mostly just learn English. Yeah, that's kind of understandable. Sure. It feels like I'm missing some. It feels like there are some chat messages that I only seem to see on the screen. It's weird.
It's pure ideology.
someone donated, but it doesn't show up properly on screen. That's very nice of what... Oh no. What is going on? What is happening? Chat? Help me out here. Shit. Oh no, the internet is also lagging. What the fuck is happening? Society has moved beyond the god. What is happening again? Here we go again. This is not sustainable. Hence, the donation is appreciated. Wait a second. Ooh, the focus is fucked. Oh no. How does it get this good at depth of field? It's so weird. Nope. Nope. Give me a minute. Oh, they're asleep. Are they asleep? Are they half asleep? That's one answer. What you're missing is gender discourse. I'm definitely missing gender discourse. It's been like 1.5 hours and we haven't talked about it. Let me fix this. That's relatively fine. Probably. Okay. You lost weight, Sag? What? Have a picture for this to a coffee stream? Okay, so I think the exposure is a little bit off, but that's more like it, I think. I'm poor. I'm not that poor. Please don't pity me. Okay, so this is working. Probably. Hopefully. I was going for a chair stream. Let me see. Would you be open to trying to turn on the air conditioner because it's quite cold here? I don't know. It's probably going to be shitty on the audio. I probably shouldn't. Black screens are the best form of gender discourse. Okay. We need to do gender discourse. I promise gender discourse. OBS should have some noise filtering. Yeah, I've tested it a little bit, or at least I did on like the Mac. That should be probably the same thing. I remember testing it. I don't know what the settings were. But I didn't love the way it sounded. It was very muffled. I tried adding some plugins, but it would always crash every time I used like third-party plugins. So, anywho, we've procrastinated enough. Let me get to the dono first. And we'll proceed to the debate. By the time we finish, the sun will be up here. What was that about? Streamlabs is not cooperating. I also don't know why like the browser source didn't really work. The audio worked, but I don't know. So, wait. Sounds and looks fine still. Okay, that's nice. Don't stress it too much. I won't. I'm not gonna turn on the air conditioner. Wait, so how can I see your donation, Majian? Thank you very much, but I don't know how this works. I'm so tired of technology, guys. I'll look it up.
I'm waiting for the remark.
What?
I'm waiting for the remark.
Waiting for the Anne remark, yeah. Anti-Civ and anti... Are anti-Civs the same thing as Amprims? I've heard that they're not, but I don't know. What do you know about anti-Civ? Stuff. No, not how to set up the... I mean, unless I go to my PayPal, which I probably shouldn't if I doxing myself. I return to Luddite, time to return to Monkey. Yeah, this seems like the only path forward for me. Donation to alert. You know what? I'm not gonna feel bad for this. Like, if ContraPoints can have a more laggy and more tech boomery stream than me, it's okay. Contra is way more of a boomer. That is true. She's not that much older, like 10 years older. Her subliminal footage was amazing. It wasn't the subliminal streams that were very... which one was it? Like the one 2 days ago or something that had a lot of issues, which sparked the meme ContraPoints more like PowerPoints, which I thought was funny. I am getting nowhere with this. Majin, what? Did you write something? I probably should. I want to read it. Gen Z calling themselves boomers. What I love. ContraPoints isn't Gen Z though. I'm not Gen Z. It should show up here, but it just doesn't. I'm sorry, guys. I really don't know what to do about this. Maybe I should use like stream elements to do it. I don't know. I just wrote L 200 times somehow. I thought it would be funny if TTS read that like Destiny streams, but I don't think it did. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you broke the fabric of Streamlabs. I don't know. Which actually could be the case because the donations are usually through his website, which maybe can handle that, but maybe like Streamlabs can't, and that's why we had the issue. Whatever may be the case, thank you very much for the $5. I really appreciate it. All right, I'll make sure to fix this by next time. I mean, I probably shouldn't make promises like this, but so is everyone ready for the gender discourse? Because we've procrastinated too much. Do you know Aidan Simpson? He's on Twitch, cool guy. He offers free help with setting up OBS and stream training leftists, professional stream producers. I am not aware of him. Is he like? He's not leftist tech support, right? I know about that person. I do feel kind of weird asking that. It always feels like I do have everything set up, but the thing is, everything goes wrong like at the last minute. So, no more discourse. Discourse is banned. I have gender. I now require discourse. All right. No. I need to do what I promised. I do have takes. I have takes. So, let's switch to this display. I'm doing the Hassan thing with the Chatterino thing. I don't know how it looks like for you. But I can see chat, which is cool. Because otherwise, like I clearly don't have two monitors. Seems like Hassan like has one monitor, and that's why he does this, right? You know, it has like Chatterino open on like the side. Hassan is a fucking millionaire. I don't understand why he doesn't invest in like his stream. It's really, really weird. Honestly, the cringiest thing about RGR is that she's the only person on the planet who plays ESO. I'm gonna trust you on that. I have no clue what ESO is. Elder Scrolls or whatever. Yeah, does she play anything else? I've only seen her play that, but yeah. Nobody knows them and may work with Let's check. Yeah, I'll keep them in mind. I'll check that out. I do feel so weird because I'm like constantly asking for help, and it's not nice. It feels like how will I ever repay all of these people that are being so nice to me? I'll offer content. You have a vague idea? When is your next debate? It's late here, and Mimi, we would like to be here for the next one. I'm not doing a debate today. I want to debate Destiny, but I want to have I want to make up like a document first to go over some points with regards to means testing. But this is not gonna happen while I'm like without my Mac. By making good content, yeah, that's let's get to that, Mithaldu. Let's try that. That would be nice, wouldn't it? You can go to sleep. That's fine. I'm just reviewing a debate. I'm not doing it. I'm just like, there was some drama. I don't know if you're aware of it. There was some drama with like some content creators. Next stream then, yeah. I don't know if like I'll probably want to be debating Destiny like the next stream. We'll see. I need to get a schedule. I need to like do this consistently and not just have these streams that are like fucking events. First stream, or like the gender stream, the debate stream. Like, it's not gonna work. That's all wrong, dude. Fuck this. Okay. Let's start. Fuck me. Okay. Would drama elaborate? I mean, you can stick around and you'll see. So basically, these two streamers, Ryla Grace and Demon Mama, I think they had like a very, very chill meme debate for a couple of hours, like a friendly chat. And then somehow it devolved into an actual debate that apparently was very intense. The stream that was supposed to exist but didn't. Yeah. Yeah, and so like there have many hot takes have been dropped here, and I have opinions. So we'll go over it. All right.
You really want to know? I'll tell you. I'll tell you right out. So yeah, Booksmarts put me on the too crazy to interact with list.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was some time ago. After my debate with Destiny, he put me on like the do not interact list because.
Does he have a list of people? Wait, hold on. I've never heard of this list.
Yeah. No, he. It was during his. I think it was during his stream that he did analyzing my rhetoric. And he said, yeah, he's like, I'm gonna put her on the do not interact list because she's too bad faith and crazy to talk to. So I'm like, okay.
Who the fuck's on the list?
I don't know. I don't know,
Wait,
but
who's to be on that list? Okay.
I don't know. Somebody made a tweet about saying that penises are male sex organs, and I'm just like, oh.
Wait, this entire discourse started from Liz? Oh no. I didn't notice that. Oh no, that's how they got into this discourse? You know, I wanna have enough Twitter cloud so that like one take I have on Twitter drags like different streamers into like all sorts of debates and drama. It's powerful. It's powerful. What did I want to say? Yeah, I could comment like the Destiny drama, but honestly, like I don't want to get into it. Like last night, Destiny was supposed to go over the debate, and he did later, but then he sat there and talked with Riley for like an hour about his drama and his shit, which was like not the point. Like, why are we talking about this again? So I don't know. I'd rather avoid that. But I will say that, not to burn any bridges or anything, but the impression that I've gotten from Demon Mama in general, although it's not nearly as hostile as Destiny's, is just... It seems like a lot of streamers do this thing where they... I don't want to say, you know, they're very, you know, often repeated point, like Vosh clones or Destiny clones. But I do feel like they're misunderstanding how rhetoric works, right? So it feels to me like Demon Mama does this. Even RGR has done this on a debate that I saw with a turf, and I thought it was really cringy. It's when you're abrasive for like the sake of being abrasive, but when you don't really have a clue when you're supposed to be abrasive. So like Destiny is, I think at least, genuinely it comes like very spontaneously, right? It's not exactly a rhetorical trick, or it doesn't seem to me like it's a rhetorical trick. I think like he's genuinely, you know, like when he does this crazy shit, we're just up and down his like chair and he's, you know, screaming. I feel like that's generally because I get that response sometimes when I hear something that just really triggers me or like sounds really, really logical. And he seems, you know, like an abrasive person. And I think it's kind of genuine. And it also has like the added benefit, so to speak, of being rhetorically effective. Vosh, however, I think, is much more conscious about his rhetoric. When he is being abrasive and when he is being you know, a little bit rude, a little bit provocative, you know, when he's taunting the person he's debating. It feels like he's actually very calm, right, inside, but he's performing that abrasiveness or that outrage. And that's fine and dandy because Vosh knows how to do that, right? He knows how to time his abrasiveness and his rhetoric and his insults in such a way that it lands, right? It feels satisfying, right? But when you're just being abrasive for the sake of being abrasive, or just being like, you know, you're shouting, you're, you know, upset and all that sort of stuff, if you don't know how to time it, you know, and you don't like sync it with when your argument is supposed to land, like a BTFO moment, it seems off, you know, and it definitely seems like you're being bad faith, right? And it looks cringy, and it doesn't look strong. It doesn't communicate strength, which is probably the point right here, like, is probably what they're going for. That's not what it communicates. I feel like it communicates weakness. So that's, yeah, again, Andrew, yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It's a good weapon, but it gets him into trouble with genuine, yeah. Destiny is 10 years in. There's no chance he's in being an actor on that as well. I don't know, actually, you know, I don't think, you know, we can ever know. It just, if he's acting, if he's performing that outrage, he's definitely being very good at that performance, you know, because there's definitely a big difference in how Destiny is, you know, offensive and like insulting and all that stuff, and how Vosh does it, right? With Vosh, it feels prepared, right? With Destiny, it seems like he's genuinely upset, right? In some way or another. All right, so enough talk about Vosh and Destiny. Okay, let's move on.
We talked about this earlier on stream. That was Liz.
You know the take then. Yeah, no,
yeah.
Stupid take.
Or wait, sorry, what?
I said I think it's a stupid take.
I mean, all right, so listen. Basically, the way that I look at it, like, I'm trying to think of the way I talked about it earlier. So if we're talking about like how to define things according to like biological sex, essentially there's like two ways that you could interpret the literature. So what the literature is pretty clear on is that like bimodal distribution of sex, people exist on a spectrum of sex. Usually you want to focus on like the qualities that are sexed in a person rather than trying to sex an entire organism, right? So usually like people, like based on totality of their qualities, will fall into, based on those qualities, categories which we'll probably define as like male and female. Obviously there are people who don't fit into those. Trans people are a great example. But then there's a question of like, okay, so like how do we define these smaller traits which individually make up some organism, right? Or big argument, like this is like the Steelman version of like the TERF argument I always hear is like the gametic entailment argument. TERFs will argue essentially because you because someone can only produce one of two types of gametes, that inherently means that there's two gametes, two sexes, that's it, right? Like that's essentially what their argument is. And the response.
So, a couple of things. Nothing she's saying here is particularly objectionable. What's my opinion on the Liz take? At this point, I don't even remember exactly what she said. Was like that the penis isn't like a female organ or something. I think the take that I most agree with on this, I saw it expressed from Mouthy, where he said, you know, it's kind of meaningless to say that, right? You're using like a bad system, like a bad category that just isn't really fit. So my take on sex, without getting too philosophical about it, which we could do, right? We could talk about it being a construct. We could talk about a lot of things. My take on it, there's a really interesting video. Let me see if I can find this. Thoughtslime recommended it a couple of months ago, and I thought it was really good. but I have no idea what it's called. And it was basically what are the shortcomings of biological sex as a mode of categorization, or as a category, right? And I think it was a very good, very nuanced explanation of why it isn't really helpful to, let me see. I don't know if this is a title, but I do suggest this. It was a really good video. I think this is it, actually. Beyond the gender-bred person, the failures of biological sex, right? So, for example, like, how do you talk about the breasts of a trans woman? Like, this is why, again, it's like, it's not correct. It's not true to say, oh, trans women are biologically male. What does that mean, really, right? They have significant differences, right, from, like, people who identify as men, right? Who are identify as men. So, like, would you say that a trans woman's breasts are biologically male? That doesn't really make much sense, right? So when you get into the issues, because, like, for example, like, when you take hormones, it's like your body has the capability, like, to develop breasts, right? Whatever its sex, as long as you administer hormones, right? So it, like, knows how to do that, which is very interesting. And hormones tend to shape, like, a lot of things. And so to characterize a trans woman's body as biologically male is, I think, highly inaccurate. And it shows what basically the pitfalls of taking this kind of scientific construct way too seriously. So to me, like, it's kind of a meaningless question, or kind of like a meaningless take, right? But I think she backed off from it. I think it was like half meme, right? The way she said it, and she, like, took it back. It was like, she said something like, that's not exactly how I meant it, but it was perceived, like, differently. So, fuck this. I'm kind of retracting this, right? I think that's what she said eventually. Like, it's true, but it's an incomplete statement. It's the male sex organ. The sex organs are not the only thing we care about when we consider sex. Yeah, kind of like that. Okay, so, what Riley is saying here is something I've also noticed with regards to the definition of sex, and I need to look more into it. I think that the way it's used in academic literature is, and I mean, like, in like more scientific, not like philosophical. I feel like it's aligned with our take on it, right? However, I've seen a lot of TERFs make this or similar arguments. They seem to appeal to, like, gametes, or, like, something before, all of the, variations that occur in the bimodal spectrum, like intersex people, before, like, this can occur, right? It's like, before this, right, before the sexed body is, like, born or, like, grows up, there's, a dimorphism, and, everything else, like, an aberration, and obviously, you have to wonder, why do you choose to assign significance to this, right? Is this really what we're talking about when we're talking about male and female? Like, is there a point to say that a trans woman's breasts are, like, male because maybe they contain, like, the Y chromosome? Like, I think it's very silly. And I need to look more into it. There's a video that I'd like to do a debunking on. It says, like, is sex really bimodal or something? And it seeks to, like, debunk this. I think it's a small channel. I don't think it's gotten enough attention yet. But it seeks to, like, sort of debunk that narrative by appealing to this. I think this is it, right? This is it. I haven't actually watched it, but I've seen it cited by TERFs, like this channel in general. And it goes on to like define sex as something, you know, that is like, oh, the dimorphism that exists before the sex body is created. Which is, I don't know, it's a weird definition to use. I don't know if anyone in academia accepts this, because clearly they're trying very hard to make this sound scientific. But what she's saying here is something that I've noticed. Like when, TERFs have mentioned this to me on Twitter at least a couple of times. There was one intersex person who was also a TERF, which I found really weird. What is it?
A random thing that might not help at all, but check out for a future something. What is sex by Zupanov?
Oh, you mean Alenka Zupanic? What's her name? Yeah, the Zizek orbiter.
Could be interesting, but I don't.
We've talked about this before. Didn't you say it was like really basic and not like too complicated?
No, I haven't read anything about the specific book. I just have it on my list of things to check out. That
I'll keep it in mind.
I really wonder what it's talking about. Is it talking about sex as an act or as a? I really.
Oh, you mean it would? Yeah, it could. Honestly, I think it's more likely that it refers to that. You know, Lacan and desire and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's more likely. I don't know. It's not though. Why is biology meaningless? It's not that biology is meaningless. You will probably get to that at some point. It kind of has to do with like how seriously you take biological concepts and what ontological status you assign to them, right? So if you're a scientific anti-realist, and this is not about like rejecting, it's very hard to make this point in a way that people understand that you're not rejecting reality, right? You're not rejecting empirical concepts, right? Or like empirical data. You're not rejecting what people, would say facts, right? But the thing is, I think it's important, like how you choose to conceptualize the concepts that science uses. And I think there's a tendency, and most people usually do this, to view these constructs as we do with all sorts of other concepts, as essential, inherent, and we grant them a sort of ontological status. Like, it is a thing that exists, right? Am I being understood here, right? And we assign like some inherent meaning to this, right? As if it's like an immutable characteristic. Now, when you do this with categories especially, you run into a lot of issues, and we'll get that. But it's not like you're rejecting biology. It's that this concept is not fit to describe that situation, right? If you view science in a functionalist perspective, or like instrumentalist perspective, and you view these concepts as existing merely as heuristics, and so like fuzzy on the sides, right? And like we use them because they're expedient and tend to describe reality in, verifiable and like repeatable, what's the word I'm looking for? In ways that reproducible ways, right? And can like have like a predictive value. And you can say that, but you can also realize like they can never like grasp reality in its like full extent metaphysically. And like I think there's a misconception here in thinking that these concepts are sort of mapped directly onto what reality is, right? And we tend to think this. We tend to think that language and reality have this like one-to-one correspondence when this is like very much not the case. This is what I mean, like we essentialize those concepts and like we grant them ontological status. Whereas it's fine to view them, as concepts that are useful, should not necessarily be discarded, but to also recognize its shortcomings when it comes to describing some things, at least.
Do you think explaining the difference between signify and signified is useful in this?
Well, this will get me like in a huge tangent.
Okay.
As a biologist, there's a stat that's a fact. There's a stat that's a fact, and then there's the ethics part. So that's why I don't get why you want to cancel the scientist part. That's not debatable. I don't exactly understand where you're going with this. There's a stat. What kind of stat? I don't know what you're talking about. There's the ethics part. There's no... Look, here's the thing. From what I'm saying, in physics, a car is treated as a perfect sphere, Yeah, that's sort of the point I'm making, Michael, right? So, like, it seems like, for the most part, most scientific concepts do not map perfectly onto reality. They are useful because they produce outcomes, because we can use them. They're valuable, right? But because language will never map on into reality, if at least you adopt the metaphysics that I adopt, that are more Deleuzian, and maybe we'll get to that. So, like, if you adopt these metaphysics, maybe I'll get into it now. But, like, a quick aside, right? So, in Deleuzian metaphysics, how do we explain this? Language and categories and concepts are based on identity, right? They're based on set theory. They're based on, you could say, a sort of mathematical logic. The thing with this kind of logic is that it has many, many shortcomings. And, these are well documented, right? All sorts of paradoxes, all sorts of things that, obstacles that it runs to. And these are all things that, and this is how we're primed to think in language, because that's how language works, right? That's the logic of language, in a sense. So, its metaphysics place identity over difference. And what does that mean, really? Basically, that before you can say that something is different to something else, these two things are separate in their own identities, right? They already exist outside of each other and are like distinct, right? And have distinct identities. And that's how you compare them. Like, how are they similar? How are they different? This is based on like the entire, again, like this is everywhere, right? This is in language. This is in the concepts that we use. All sorts of constructs. It's in sex. It's in gender. It's in in the chair example. It's everywhere. I feel like, following Deleuze here, that this is not actually the best descriptor of reality when you come down to it, when you come to its more essential points. And like, in physics, you'll notice a lot of things that are completely fucked up. And theoretical physics is like struggling to sort of, fit, I want to say, like mathematical constructs into some places where I feel like they might not fit. This is another conversation. I'm getting off topic. Anyway, so Deleuze perceives the difference is ontologically primary to identity, right?
The difference of A to B and the difference of A to itself, that's the
Difference of A to itself? I don't know. It's a really, really complicated issue. It's like his magnum opus, like difference and repetition. I haven't actually read it. It's really, really fucking hard. But the basics of it is, because he's like a Spinozist, he talks about like the univocity of being. I mean, like one substance and everything else is like offstream or like downstream of its qualitative and quantitative difference. I feel like this is a metaphysics. Wait, that has to do with the fact that the crisis of the early 20th century was never solved. Bohr literally said just at Kant how all the problems of QM away. Yeah, right. No, I don't disagree. That's really not a good summary of the state of realist. I'm not talking about realism versus anti-realism right now. I mean, I guess in the way that I conceive of realism and anti-realism, I sort of shove this metaphysics into it, but it's not really necessary. I'm talking about something else. So like, it's not, you probably know this, but like in QFT, like there's all sorts of mathematical tricks we pull to make like infinities go away. It feels like there's so many. It feels like there's so many issues that are just a shortcoming of mathematics themselves and of this logic itself. Anyway,
I like
back to the list.
That Saussure was going to make you go into a tangent, but you just grasped difference and repetition for.
I don't know. It feels like it's kind of important to explain what I mean, like a different metaphysics, like because okay, to me, like this sounds like it makes a lot of sense, but to someone who's hearing it for the very first time, it's probably very. It's not nice. Yes, renormalization is sometimes okay and sometimes sketchy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But let's not get into this. It's probably too complicated for chat. Yeah, but we're not studying physics because we're not masochistic. I am, apparently. Biology is A, B, C, D. All the other opinions and debates are on the ethics area is all I'm saying. No. It's not, though. Not really. That's not really true. First of all, since physics is the basis of everything, if you're looking to build a metaphysics that has to do with, like, structure of reality and you want to be perfectly correct and not just be heuristic, right? You have to keep in mind, like, okay, what is the actual structure of reality, behind this concept? The thing is, like, there are issues that I don't think you can just hand wave away by saying, oh, it's A equals A, or like it's A, B, C, D, or something. That's very straightforward. Surely, biology and studying it doesn't elicit the same questions about reality that physics does. But what I'm saying is, if you want to have a metaphysics, you can just say I'm applying a different kind of metaphysics to biology and a different kind of metaphysics to, physics. Like you have to have like a coherent account of how reality works, right? Now, I'm not expecting like the entire academic discipline of biology to deal with this stuff. Because as I said, like, yeah, they're useful scientific concepts, right? They're useful in that they produce reliable results. What I'm cautioning against is that we shouldn't necessarily think that the ontology that they imply is necessarily constitutive of reality, right? Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily apply, though. What doesn't? The fact there are different ontologies you can apply to the same system in biology should give us pause. Yeah. Like, these are... Elena, I know you're not, like, familiar with this. And, like, I get, like, as a biologist, you're kind of triggered. This isn't invalidating in any way the kind of work you're doing, right? Or the things you've studied. Or it doesn't make them any less true, right? Or like any less accurate. Maybe it makes them a little bit less accurate. The thing is, it's not saying it's not useful, right? That's what I'm saying. It's functionally useful. And maybe we decide that there's no reason for biology to adopt a different ontology, right? And it could just keep going with what it uses because it's probably a better like heuristic. It's probably like a better way to do science, right? In terms of how effective it is. But, in what we're talking about right now, we should keep in mind that it doesn't mean that just because there's empirical evidence and just because something is reproducible, it does not mean that it stakes a claim on what reality is. Right? I'm glad we agree, Nature Fan, for the first time. All right, okay, we've spent a lot of time on this. Let's move on.
Response to this argument, and this is the one that I got from Avi, who is a doctor who actively studies biology, which is wonderful. Also, apparently a vegan. I'm not going to debate him on that for a while. I'm kicking the vegan can down the road. Apparently, that's what he's primarily known for.
Would you be so kind
But
as to
anyway,
make me some coffee?
so essentially, the argument is that like Avi will not
Successfully
dispute that
derailed
necessarily
only 2 minutes
those
into the
individual
video, yeah.
things have a sex. But there's a difference between the gametes that an organism produces and how we categorize those gametes.
Wait.
And
wait
how
a sec. I'm sorry. What?
I think you were going around the answers of sex is not independent of gender and
Here's the thing. Again, like, I'll repeat this for the ones who weren't here to hear this when we started stream. I had some of these at least, written down in a way that, you know, sounded more rhetorically convincing and that I could, you know, express it in a better way, and in a much more structured way than what I'm doing right now. But I fucking lost it because I didn't save the file and we had like a power outage. So, fuck me, I guess. You know me personally, I have sacrificed for my precious years in genetics. You're not about to cancel that, Mr. or else these hands are rated E for everyone. Look, I don't know how many times I can keep saying that your research and your work and your job are by no means invalidated by what I'm saying here, right? Scientific anti-realism, or like a Deleuzean metaphysics, is not at all incompatible with the discipline of biology, right? It's just I'm just pointing some stuff out about the skepticism by which we should regard these concepts and like how we grant them, and if we grant them an ontological status, and how much we assume that this maps perfectly onto reality. Like, that's all I'm saying, and I've repeated like a million times. It's still fucking useful, and it could also be the case that even if we all find and accept a perfect metaphysics and perfect ontology, that biology may very well still go on the way it has gone on so far, right? It's very possible. What I'm saying here it relates to how we conceptualize it, how we think of language, how we think of concepts, right? All of this I emphasize for two reasons. Because A, I think it's much more accurate with regards to reality. And B, because I'm very, very, very weary of essentialism, right? And I feel like, or like I'm almost sure of it, when you go into this like, when you assign this ontological significance to what are basically heuristic constructs, however useful these constructs may be, you are led down a path of thinking and a mentality that I think can sometimes be dangerous. I'll probably elaborate a lot on this because essentialism is one of the things that I see as the root of many, many evils, which will probably come up at it again. Be a structural realist instead. Organicism. Mr. Miss Nature. There's non-binary people in here, Elena. Let's listen to Roads together. I don't know. All right, enough memes. Let's please not get derailed anymore. Like, I'm curious. Jesus, 2 hours and 20 minutes. Fuck me. Oh God. I'm losing viewers. Okay, it's late.
We categorize the organism doing the producing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially, like, you can, like, and so, like, and again, I'm not saying that this is necessarily the greatest way to do this. You know, I take a
And be
scientific
furries. We're gonna talk about furries mythology.
realist approach. I
It's
think
coming.
the best way of categorizing something is the way which gives the most consistent and reliable outcomes. And so if this is the way that we do it, then fine. If not, then, that's subject to further discussion, and it's probably going to continue evolving in the literature as the literature continues to explore this idea. But essentially, like, you could either look at something. So then, like, if we bring this back into, like, the discussion of, like, all right, penis, is it inherently, like, is it a male organ, or is it just, like, an organ? I think that there you could probably fall either way. Like, with the penis, it's important to remember that, like, penis, like, all the genitals kind of, like, form from the same place. Like, they start out essentially the same, and then through exposure to testosterone usually is what, like, if you just, like, leave a penis alone and you don't expose it to testosterone, it's probably just gonna develop into a vulva, or just not gonna do anything, right? Like, it requires
I mean, that would mean, by that argument.
So what is interesting to me, and I'll, like, preempt this a little bit, is, like, whether Riley is a realist or an anti-realist, right? Like, scientific realist or anti-realist. And I'm saying this because what she's saying here sounds like scientific anti-realism, which is very curious, because in her document, she says, wait a minute. Oh, where is this? Yeah. Taking a scientific realist approach, a scientific model has no inherent value, but is rather as valuable as it can produce objectively reasonable, accurate, and consistent outcomes, which is the anti-realist position. So that's, like, really awkward, right? And Destiny pointed this out in the stream yesterday. And, like, here's the thing. That is true, that based on this, and this alone, this is an anti-realist position. However, when I see, because I watched the debate, right? When I see her rhetoric after this and what she seems to be getting at, it does seem like she's taking a realist position, or she's trying to find a realist position. Like, that's just my understanding of her thought process, and that's, to a degree, speculation. We'll get to it.
And, like, then would it not mean that you by this particular argument, then you could argue that a penis is a male sex organ, but you could not argue that a vulva is a female sex organ, because all humans, regardless of their genetic sex, always start with a vulva, because it requires the input of testosterone to even develop a penis in the first place.
I don't know about that, but I mean,
I think that's a fun argument to entertain, actually. It's
like,
interesting to think about.
Pretty sure that's the case.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Maybe. I have to think on that more. But essentially, like, these are the kind of issues that we come up with, right? So I mean, like, essentially, when we're trying to say that, like, oh, a penis is clearly one of two kind of categories, well, it's like, no, I mean, you could, like, because of the way that it develops, like, I think that there are a lot of places where you could say that, like, there are certain sex qualities, and if you want to say that's one, then sure. But I think that people assume that it's, like, this very strict binary thing with genitals, when you look at the way it develops, I'm not sure if it's as open and shut a case. You can
I don't think it is either. I think it's kind of a silly argument to make. To me, it seems like that argument is functionally like arbitrary, and also it doesn't give us anything. Like, we don't gain anything from calling a penis a male sex organ and a vulva a female sex organ. We don't gain anything from that. We could just call them penises and vulvas, right? Like,
well, I mean, it depends on how we're using the term, like, male and female, right? So I mean, if we're using the term male and female to describe, like, different paths of sexual development, then it might give us utility, because like, basically it would be like, so, like, if we take the example with trans people, right?
Wait, but by that same argument, though, would that not mean that it would be okay for like, trans people to be, like, referred to as, like, male then?
No.
So here it seems like Demon Mama is taking, like, a hardcore, like, anti-realist, instrumentalist, functionalist approach, which I don't think she's technically wrong about it. I just don't think that people will find it very satisfying. And we'll get to that in a little bit. What it does remind me when she says, you know, you can just call it a penis. You don't have to say like the male sex organ, right? Does remind me, and I don't know if she was getting at that, but it does remind me of the video I showed you before, the shortcomings of biological sex. One of the points that they make there is that putting M or F like in a form, even when it comes to places where, in theory, your sex like matters, because we say that like, okay, like in medical context, maybe your sex assigned at birth matters. Even in these contexts, it's really not clear. And this is how it breaks down, right? It's really not clear what you should put, right? Because sometimes there are a lot of things that are categorized in like biology or like in medicine, etc. By virtue of M or F, right, male or female, without consideration of the case of trans people, right? And so, for example, let's say that we say that, oh, women tend to have like X risk of a disease, right? Or like females, right? Or AFAB, whatever. Well, okay, but like, is it like related to their X chromosome, right? So what is it related to, right? Why is it that this tends to occur with, and I'm not talking like, I don't know, cancer of like the ovaries or something. I'm talking about like something else, right? So there's a variability in like the likelihood that you have of getting that disease. And so you might say, well, okay, here it's very important to state your sex assigned at birth because it's what's going to determine, you know, how the doctor is going to treat you. But here's the thing. In many cases there, we don't exactly know like what it is that is responsible for this heightened risk. So for example, it could be a disease that where the risk is heightened because, are you shaking because you're cold? Or like, I'm seeing it in the corner of my eye and it's just very distracting.
I think so, yeah.
Maybe you should go like lay in bed. I don't know.
I'll try to find a steadier place.
All right. So
We'll stop.
what was I saying? Right. So for example, what if this disease occurs with like a certain frequency based on like hormone levels, right? So it has to do with like estrogen. So like a trans woman who's taking HRT, you know, she might very well say M, like male. Well, that wouldn't really be accurate, right? So if the doctor just saw that, right? And so just saw that form, and they would go like, oh yeah, so okay, that person is not like at risk for this certain disease. But meanwhile, they're like taking hormones, which might be the very thing that causes AFib people to have a high risk of this disease, right? So even like in medical contexts, and this is an example of the shortcomings of like sex, even like in medical contexts, you know, even then, it's not really necessarily a good measure to say, okay, you always need to use your sex assigned at birth, because there are various sexual characteristics that do have like a sort of I don't know. I actually don't know what the word I was looking for is. In any case, so I think maybe that's what she's getting at here. Relatedly, some trans women can... Yeah. I love this example, Nathaldo. I love this example that some trans women can get cervical cancer, right? So like post-op. I love this argument because no transphobe knows this or understands this. And when they get ass mad about like, when like a medical organization, uses like inclusive language and says like people with cervical cancer, like, and they say, no, it's women, right? It's women. Like, without even mentioning trans men, you can just say, women, right? Interesting that you think that, right? As it so happens, trans women can get it too. And they don't fucking, like, it's a couple of times where I've said is, like, any way you take this, using inclusive language helps. Like, what exactly should they be saying here? Like, so inevitably someone would be excluded. So, like, you understand where I'm going, right? And they don't believe it. Like, a couple of times, they're like, they don't believe it. And they're like, it's not a real cervix. Well, I don't know. Like, it's considered cervical cancer, so, like, fuck off, right? I don't care. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard many times that it's safer if a doctor doesn't know you're trans if you medically transition, because if they treat you as your sex assigned at birth, then most of the time they will come to the wrong conclusions. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I don't know if it's necessarily true, like, as a heuristic for most occasions. I'm sure there must be some instances where knowing, like, your sex assigned at birth, yeah, Elena is objecting, where knowing your sex assigned at birth might actually be valuable, right? But it depends, right? You can't just, like, explicitly this or that, right? It's not very useful. So what that video suggests that I showed you is that, well, there's no need, like, for that concept. You can just directly refer to the organs. You can directly refer to the conditions. You can say my breasts, my penis, my whatever, right? And there's no need to, like, use this category that is a little bit outmoded. Just talk specifically about what the issue is and what you're talking about, right? And that usually probably just sidesteps this whole process that is really not very useful. If that's true, get their license back if not, just I don't know. I'm gonna research this. I don't know. It seems a little bit hyperbolic, right? That, like, in any case they shouldn't know you're trans. I don't know about that. But I'm just saying, like, well, okay, if they didn't see you, like, what's the correct thing to say, right? Is it your sex, your gender? Okay, let's move on.
No, like, I'm very specific to say that, like, again, because of the fact that, like, the literature seems to be moving towards more defining qualities of a person with sex rather than an entire organism, then you wouldn't be able to define, like, a trans woman as, like, a quote-unquote biological male, right? Yeah. Because a trans woman, especially on HRT. Now, pre-HRT, it's going to be a bit of a harder argument. There is some evidence to be able to suggest that, like, there is still some kind of biological quality. I mean, like, this gets into the question of, like, what's the cause of gender dysphoria? What's the cause of people wanting to be trans in the first place? Like, what causes those mental functions which happen in the first place? There's probably something there. There's some literature to suggest that, like, the brain is sex.
It has to be, right?
Well, yeah.
Unless you're a dualist and you believe unless you believe that it's like a soul thing, that, like, you have a female soul. But I don't believe
I mean, I'm not going to believe that. But I mean, like, you want to be a little bit careful here because you can easily get into, like, some trans medicalist arguments because, I mean, then then we are necessarily, I mean, like, not even technically, like, we are necessarily getting into questions of, like, all right, so
screenshots taken moments before disaster and before 2 hours later, she's being accused of being a trans medicalist by her community. Okay.
What does it mean?
I don't think she's a trans medicalist, just throwing that out there.
Medically speaking, to be trans. So you want to just be careful. Because oftentimes, if you're not careful, then you can accidentally start, like, drawing lines. I don't know, like, fortunately, like, people who are reasonably knowledgeable about, like, the, about trans discourse are usually able to have, like, a pretty good head about these sort of things.
Right. Yeah.
Just because, like, logically speaking, I guess that the way I have, like, a Abby voice in the back of my head now. You can think of this in terms of, like, looking out for what would result, like a rule which would result in, like, in a reductio ad absurdum, right? Like, if you were going to propagate a rule, would that rule result in, like, outcomes that are clearly wrong? So, like, with a lot of trans medicalist arguments,
rule utilitarianism
like,
and its
so
consequences
what if you have a trans person, like, for
a
example,
disaster for the human
if
race.
we define what is necessary, like, required to be a true trans person is to have diagnosed gender dysphoria, that's going to have a problem because that naturally means that you are going to exclude people who we probably would define as trans, but who may not have experienced gender dysphoria or who may have not been sufficiently diagnosed with gender dysphoria, right?
Right. Yeah, or who were incapable of being diagnosed, regardless of the fact that they're actually trans.
Yeah, exactly. And so like that's an example, and I mean like that's the easy argument to say like why a lot of trans medicalists are wrong, but that doesn't mean that there's not a different definition of what it means to be trans. It just means that we want to be able to have a definition which does not exclude people who we do not want to exclude, but also doesn't include people who we don't want to include, right? We probably don't want to say that like
okay, I missed this. Wait, let me go back.
That's the easy argument to say like why a lot of trans medicalists are wrong, but that doesn't mean that there's not a different definition of what it means to be trans. It just means that we want to be able to have a definition which does not exclude people
wait. I'm sorry.
may have not been people who we
I don't
probably
pay attention.
you know, you get into a question of like, all right, so what if you have a like for example, if we define what is necessary, like required to be a true trans person is to have diagnosed gender dysphoria, that's going to have a problem because that naturally means that you are going to exclude people who we probably would define as trans, but who may not have experienced gender dysphoria or who may have not been sufficiently diagnosed with gender dysphoria, right?
Right. Yeah, or who were incapable of being diagnosed, regardless of the fact that they're actually trans.
Yeah, exactly. And so like that's an example, and I mean like that's the easy argument to say like why a lot of trans medicalists are wrong, but that doesn't mean that there's not a different definition of what it means to be trans. It just means that we want to be able to have a definition which does not exclude people who we do not want to exclude, but also doesn't include people who we don't want to include, right? We probably don't want to say that like and this is also my take, and this is probably my spiciest trans take, but I think I'm pretty pilled on this or whatever.
All right. Sure.
I don't think that we can just say anyone who identifies as trans is trans. I don't think that. I think that if we naturally, I think that the reason.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. So this is where this starts to get problematic, right? So what I think is going on here, or will go on here, and is about to go on here, is, so first of all, let's take the who we want to exclude, right, part, which sounds really bad, right, both out of context and in context. The thing is, and it's true with Haldu, we were talking about this, she doesn't actually give like many examples of who she'd like to exclude. The thing is, here's the thing. It's almost impossible, like she's searching for a concrete closed off category, right? A perfect definition that, you know, is coherent and self-contained. By definition, that category would exclude someone. Like, a category is defined by what it excludes, right? Which is a little bit of an issue because the entire thing with categories is they never really are able to do that when you get down to it, right? And this is the deconstructive argument, right? So, if I'm being very good faith here, I want to say that it's not like because she wants to actively exclude people, it's because any category that is coherent enough to be enough for her, to be like satisfying for her, would inevitably exclude some people, but she doesn't really know what that would entail. Maybe she means a case like someone who is just saying, oh, you know, like you're debating a conservative, a transphobe, and they say, oh, haha, I identify as a woman, so now are you going to treat me as a woman? Like, are you going to... And you have like this, so like, oh, by that definition, could we say that this person is a woman? Right? Okay, and then you can say, okay, how can you like police when someone is saying it genuinely or disingenuously? Pull it over here. Cat intermission. Anyway. So, where was I? The thing is... What?
Get off the box.
And so, this is not clear as a misunderstanding from here on out. When she says this, I didn't actually remember this when I was writing my notes, and I was under a different impression. It seems pretty clear here that she doesn't agree with the self-ID definition, not even as a heuristic. So the argument that I was going to make, right, and I think this does happen to an extent, but this does make it clear that she's not okay with a heuristic, because I was going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, maybe she's fine with using it as a heuristic, but doesn't find that it's ontologically satisfying. And I would be like, okay with that, but it doesn't seem like that's what she's doing. So I think in the course of this conversation, there is confusion with regards to many different questions. So it seems like we're conflating here the questions: what is woman? What is a woman? Which are two different questions. Who is a woman? And who do we recognize as a woman? And the self-ID statement only answers the last question, right? And we later get into this debate, into this, like, where Riley's just begging for someone to say, well, please tell me that there's not, there has to be more to gender than self-ID. Like, it has to mean something. Just because you deconstruct it doesn't mean, doesn't have any content. And that's true. I don't think Demon Mama was able to explain to her why that's not necessarily what is being implied here. The thing is, so, okay, let me reframe this. Just because we have said, this is the Sargon trap when it comes to gender. Because this is the exact argument that I've seen Sargon make when we debated on Twitter. And we'll get to this again, like the infinite regressivity that she brings up again and again. And what he says is, well, the concept woman means nothing if that's how you define it. And this, I think, is a confusion between the actual meaning or content of the category woman and who we have decided that we should recognize as a woman, right? And I think that we say, and I didn't think she would disagree with this, but apparently she does. I think we could say that the best bet that we have, the method that will ensure the maximum amount of gender freedom and the least policing, so to speak, of gender expression is using the heuristic of we recognize as a woman anyone who self-IDs as such, right? That doesn't mean that this is the definition of woman. It is, however, what we use as, a shorthand to determine prescriptively, right? This is a prescription, right? But we're conflating here again, prescription and description. This is something that I would have expected Destiny to catch. Because he made some really good deconstructive arguments in the beginning of the conversation. But he didn't. And it seems like nobody except for Liz actually mentioned this. And it seems like for the entire conversation and the entire review that Destiny did, we're constantly conflating these two questions. Right? He's saying regardless of whether or not you buy it, social experience in general are part of it and not just mentally identifying persona. Yeah. yeah, there's nothing disagreeable about this. I think it's again like the conflation of the question, right? Which you could move into what does identify as mean? Yeah, you could get into that, but again, like this is a heuristic. It's not meant, and this is what Riley is going to do. Like she's going to expose many of the shortcomings of this definition, but like this isn't a definition. That's the thing, right? That's the issue. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be logically consistent and stand up to all of the scrutiny that she throws at it, right? Because that's not like she's talking about a different thing. And I would say that what does identify as mean? I would say that, again, speaking like from a functionalist perspective, we could say, anyone who wants to be a woman. Like, this is how I would reframe it, right? I myself don't very much like the phrase, I agree with the convention, but I do think that there's a better way to put it. Like, there's a better heuristic. And I'd say anyone who desires or expresses that desire to be a woman or a gender, right? I like the centering of desire versus the centering of identity, right? I think the framing around identity invites many misconceptions and many hostile responses, and it gives like a lot of ammo to transphobes. And I think there's a general... I think in the last 10 years or so, maybe more, there has been a shift in the discourse from desire to identity. Honestly, I'd like to recenter desire and have the argument reframed as, why would you police or restrain someone's desire, versus having these endless semantic arguments about the metaphysics of gender, right? Which most people, aren't prepared to have, right? Wants to feel is more accurate than wants to be treated as. Yeah, you can play around with this, right? And make it more inclusive or more accurate. But I don't think it's meant to be prodded that hard, right? So in everyday experience, that's basically how we use this. We don't say, unless you tell me the phrase, I identify as a woman, then I won't treat you as such, right? Wait, to say this, my problem is even if she means it, well, she doesn't say it clearly, which makes the convo harder. Wait, what doesn't she said clearly, but she might mean that I'm not... What are you referring to? I have issues calling gender singular ed, but I'm trying to... Okay. What else was I about to say? Another thing is that what is often being missed, and is probably going to be missed in this conversation, is that the act of stating that identification, or the act of stating that identity, or the act of stating that desire, those themselves are speech acts, right? So they do have some performative value, or some... How would you put it? What kind of value do they have as speech acts? I'm looking for the right word. Actionable value, right? Yeah. They do something, right? She didn't say who she wants to exclude. Yeah. Okay, I'm reading chat very non-linearly. That's the issue. I don't think she's coming at it from a bad place, where she wants to necessarily gatekeep transness. It just feels like her need for a concrete concept and a concrete category inevitably leads to someone being excluded. It's inevitable by the nature of a closed-off category. So it's kind of a side effect that she's being exclusive, even though, again, she's not really sure who she wants to exclude. Dear Lord, is it 5 a.m. there? It is 5 a.m. here. We're at the start of the debate. I'm gonna kill myself. Okay. I'm thinking that maybe we should go on for another hour, and maybe continue tomorrow, perhaps, because the laptop and my friend are still gonna be here. I don't know how you feel about that. So it's probably getting like pretty dark in the US too. I don't know. I don't know what time would it be in Australia, Android? Or I think we can go on for another hour. Channy is here. I would like to get to sleep soon. I don't know. Do you want to like end stream and just take it tomorrow? I don't know. I'm sweet with that. Gives me something to do on a Saturday. That's nice. I feel like I need to earn my $55. I feel like I haven't generated enough discourse. I promised gender discourse and I'm not delivering.
Do the brain thing. That's enough discourse.
The paper analogy?
Oh, you can do that.
Wait, what were you referring to?
Gendered brains.
No, I don't want to talk about gendered brains. I hate that discourse. Fuck me. I hate that. All right.
Yeah, but it's enough discourse for the day.
It's enough discourse for the day. It's a discourse that makes me want to kill myself. All right. We're prepping the discourse so far. Yeah, it's the fuck me, what's the word?
You can do the paper analogy.
I'm not just gonna throw takes out there when they're not related to the fucking video. You know, what will I say when I get to that point? Yeah, we're prepping. We're doing what's the fucking word? Why am I blanking out so fucking hard? What's the thing you do before sex? What? I'm blanking.
Sour?
No. I mean, before penetrating sex.
Poppers?
All right. You're not. Okay. Foreplay. Yes, thank you, Mythaldu. Fuck me, I was blanking out. Yeah, foreplay is the point. Wait, why is chat not... Oh, chat is not... Yeah, of course it's not showing. I'm a moron. Okay, yeah, foreplay. We're doing Discord foreplay. That's what we're doing. Pre-sex, yeah. Discourse fluffer. I think an important question to ask here is, why say I identify as X? We'll have to get to that because she does go into like some really weird territories when she's talking about like how identification isn't the same thing at what she describes as internal and voluntary processes, which I think is a very interesting and weird argument that she makes, because I feel like she doesn't understand the conclusions of her own argument. It's really interesting. We'll get to that because she goes hard. Yeah, we'll get to that tomorrow, right? Fuck me. Okay. Let's how much longer should we do this? Maybe we should do it for half an hour. We'll see. Yeah. I agree that she doesn't understand transness or gender well. I think she's trying. The thing is, here's the thing. So I read her document, right? So because I wanted to understand what her position is when expressed like in a more thought out manner that's not, in a debate, after 3 hours of talking about random shit and, with all the baggage that comes with talking to someone. Yeah, I'd agree that Demon Mama also doesn't understand it very well. Honestly, I don't think she's really interested in understanding it. But I don't know. Here's the thing. Most of what she says here is not objectionable, right? So I do have some issues with, and this is like, Vosh also says this, people say this a lot in like progressive spaces, but refuse to like delve further, where they say, gender and sex aren't the same thing. And they aren't, of course, but this needs more prodding, right? Because it somehow, again, like leaves and implies sex as like something outside of discourse, which I take issue with. Anyway, what she says here, even though I do have some issues with the arguments she's choosing to use here, the ones that rely a lot on like biology and like brains and stuff, I have issues with that, but nothing really is objectionable, right? And this is probably a summary of her theory of gender. Again, I think you can go much deeper than that, and I don't think by any means this is exhaustive. It's not really objectionable, though, but I think she doesn't understand her own argument here when she says subjective gender is comprised of the totality of one's involuntary thought processes, because then she contrasts brains. All right. Because she contrasts this with whether being trans is a choice, or, would people deserve rights if it were a choice, which is an argument that really fucking triggers me. And it falls back, like, by her own definition, the choice falls back on this. Maybe we'll get to it.
Reason why is if we go with that,
that's not objective, that's intersubjective. Learn what words mean. Yeah, absolutely. There's incorrect. I talked to DM today, and she actually expressed advanced understandings I wouldn't even expect from anyone, such as gender being a feedback loop. I saw that take, your take, gender being a feedback loop. I don't really know that I understand what you mean, but I'm inclined to trust you if you say that Demon Mama does have, like, advanced gender takes. It's just that that's not something that I got from this conversation. It didn't seem like Demon Mama had good rebuttals to Riley's arguments, when to me some of them were really clear, like what could be pointed out about the flaws in her argumentation. I don't know, but I trust you. I don't know.
It's a logical flaw. It's called infinite regress. Basically,
I'm gonna explain to you later on. DM didn't have that point during the convo. Yeah, okay. Again, like, you can never really be certain of anything when you're talking about public figures you don't know personally, right?
Basically, like, it's a logical fallacy to say that just saying that you're something equals being that thing. Now, I think that there's a definition of what it means to be trans, which is able to accomplish the same thing, which is essentially like, so for example here, let me pull up, like, the definition that I have relied on, which seems to get me through most things, right? Usually what I look at is, like, objective and subjective gender. So, like, objective meaning the totality of your gendered expressions and how society reciprocates and interprets those, combined with the subjectivity, like the totality of your mental processes, which motivates you to make those expressions, right? So, for example, if you say, I am a woman, that is a gendered expression. That's an expression that you make to society. And if you are in a you're in a social space which recognizes that expression and acknowledges that to mean that you are a woman and treats you like that, then objectively speaking, you have met the criteria to be a woman, right?
So then, should we not set that as the criteria then?
No. I would say that. Well, I would say that this is like this is like a good criteria, and also, like, we can test this against a lot of.
So isn't this a little bit confusing, right, and contradictory? Didn't she literally, like? Let me replay this a little bit.
Woman and treats you like that, then object in a social space which recognizes that expression and acknowledges that.
Okay, wait a second. Flameter, what you're saying, I saw this argument, I think, somewhere expressed that, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, oh, are you suddenly not a woman when you're in a social space where that's not recognized? It's much more complicated than she gives it credit for. I think that what she has been trying to do is rely on scientific authority to build a conception of gender that is empirically accurate and scientifically verifiable and has some level of objective clarity to it. And I feel like she lacks philosophical rigor and trips up, and she lacks, like, good philosophical foundations. And it doesn't seem to me like she's engaged with the philosophical literature on either metaphysics and ontology or gender in general, right? So yeah, like, the way she phrases it, that would be a shortcoming unless she means something else, right? And, like, one thing, I don't like this strict divide that she's making between subjective and objective. Like, maybe if you ask her, she'd say that, like, well, okay, I never said that these two are two separate things, maybe they interact, but it's not clear what she thinks here. The issue here, and that's what Nijafan is getting at when he's saying like intersubjective, is like you can't like the subjective part, the subjective dimension is not like cut off from the objective thing. It's not like there's one thing outside of everything else, right? And that's inside you, right? And that's your feelings or anything else. And then there's the outside world, right? There's clearly an intimate connection between how you're being reflected. This is Hegelian, right? How you're reflected like in others, how they see you and how you see yourself through them, right? And what you perform and what that performance signals, all that sort of thing, right? But this also constructs your identity. It's not like you have, and this is like where you want to get like the performativity thing that it's not just performance, right? Where you say it's not like you are this and then you perform, right? Or you only are this if you perform. It's that the performance constitutes you, right? It's constitutive of you through repetition, right? That's kind of what Butler would be getting at, right? So in that sense, right, where was I going with this? Could have lost my train of thought there. Why did I bring up Butler in the first place and performativity? Where was I going with this?
I thought you were going into refrains, but you didn't.
Into what?
Refrains, but you didn't.
Refrains. Yeah, I could talk about refrains, but like, no, actually, I can't talk right now about refrains. I don't have the energy to talk about Deleuzean refrains. Yeah, so like you reaffirm your identity, right? You reconstruct it every time. You reaffirm it as a social relation. So all of these things are just so intimately tied together that it's just really hard and really reductive to do the separation between subjective and objective, right? So these are two separate things. And it kind of implies that there's something like inside you. And she hints at this in this entire debate. And this is what she's trying to find. And she's trying to pull out of Demon Mom, like trying to find, you know, what constitutes like an intrinsic thing, like makes you trans, right? It's the thing. It's transness as something that has ontological status, right? And that's kind of what she's getting at, right? That's kind of independent. Anywho, I'd say it as in the performance causes others to treat you in a certain way. That's part of it, yeah. And the goal of current trans rights movement is to shift the meaning of what constitutes that performance. That is also interesting, right? You could say that this is the queer struggle or part of the queer struggle, right? To break, yeah, to like break those expressions, like twist them, right? And this is part of where the subversive potential of queer lies, right? And there's also an interesting thing that just popped into my mind. I don't know if you remember, if you've all seen like Beauty by ContraPoints. There's a point that she says, like, and this is also really important to me. I don't think this is addressed, and I think woke Twitter kind of pretends like this doesn't happen, or like likes to efface it and pretend it doesn't happen. Like, desires aren't always what you want them to be, right? They're not always politically correct. They're not always, you know, aligned with even what is actually correct, right? Not just politically correct. It can be rational. It can be all sorts of things. And Contra says in that video, like, okay, I mean, I can understand that my desire to be beautiful is, you know, based on standards that are, you know, fatphobic, transphobic, ableist, etc., right? That does not make me want them any less, though, right? So that's the rub. So what Mythology is getting at here, and what ContraPoints is getting at here, she says, like, well, maybe what we can do is restructure society so that our desires then shift, right? So if then, you know, you have a political activism that shifts those standards, that transforms them, that breaks them, etc., right? Then your desire flows downstream from that, right? And that's how you can change your desire, so to speak, right? So this can be like part of the queer political struggle, you know? It's very interesting to me. I really like where she's getting at with this emphasis on desire. If you have another sense of art, I really prefer the emphasis on desire rather than the fixation on identity, right? I'm not sure about that. You're not sure about what? You're splitting correctly internal identity and performance to separate and distinct. Wait, me? Am I splitting it? Wait, or like, is this what Riley's doing? I'm not sure you can change what you desire. I split that earlier. Did I? Internal identity and performance? No, what I said was that performance and the way that it functions in society and the way that people treat you, sure, but not just that, right? Just the act of performance itself reifies and affirms an identity, right? It constructs that identity. And it's really hard to think of this if you think of identity as a thing that's static, right? A thing that's there and concrete and is always with you, or like you're always one thing. But you're not. Like, I really don't think that's how identities work, right? I think identities are multiple, right? I think they have to constantly be constructed and reconstructed and always affirmed and reaffirmed as you pass through like those identities, right? So it's not just such a neat separation, right? There are identities that are inside of me that I've never reified to anyone, but they exist. Sure, right? I get what you're saying. And this is like the experience that you have with this. But what I'm saying is that even the thing that is, that's what I'm saying, like, it's not necessary that you perform it, because people can misunderstand like performativity theory, and they did when Contra did the aesthetic, and we had this discourse, which we're now like bringing back. This doesn't place like constraints on like you are in this and unless you perform it, or like you have to perform it for others necessarily. But like, if I want to get a little bit Lacanian here, you're never alone, right? Because the identities I carry inside of me, I never reified to anyone. Yeah, you haven't reified to anyone who is a small other, right? But the big other, in the Lacanian sense, like, always exists. Always it's a space for the symbolic and language. It's really hard to explain right now, but the point in Lacania is you're never alone, right? You're never...
Can you perform in a fantasy?
Can you perform... You can perform in a fantasy, right? Yeah. So like a fantasy, for example, if this is something you've never shared with anyone, but it's inside a fantasy, it's still some kind of performance. It's still inside language, and it's still inside the big other. You get what I mean? That's fantastic. That's great. I don't think it's transphobic to desire to look a certain way. Yeah, this is kind of the issue with woke Twitter, Flander. That it seems like they are very, very keen on effacing desires that don't fit that narrative. Or like, I don't want to say don't fit that narrative. It feels like everything is forced into a specific, it's like you can't say that out loud because, oh, it implies this, it implies that, it implies that you're not a woman. But no, you can't think that you're not a woman. We're saying that, like, and it's hard to like express these desires without being in some way castigated for it, right? So think of the tweets that were part of the reason that Natalie was canceled. These tweets were mostly her expressing some of her feelings that didn't necessarily align with what would be politically correct, right? And people got very mad about this. But the issue is, like, she's not making a prescription here, right? She's just saying, okay, I felt weird about this and this and this thing, right? So what exactly are you blaming her for? For feeling that? Or for having that desire? Can she help it? Like, I don't understand. And I feel like it's because a lot of people don't want to hear this, right? It feels like a lot of people would rather not recognize that these desires exist within them too, right? They like to pretend that their desires are aligned with what should be correct, or like what it should be, right? What they should feel. And they don't want to recognize that sometimes whatever you do, like, it's just not how this works, right? And you can say that maybe you should modify society, right? And then downstream, maybe your desire will be modified. But that's a different conversation. It seems like, I don't know, is it too deep for Twitter? I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're ready to have it. I stand behind my country's the only good breadtuber take. I mean, Cuck Philosophy is also really good. Who else would you... with regards to media analysis, I do think Big Joel and Jack Sane do a good job. Economics Explained is really good. Who else would you say?
Oh, I haven't engaged in.
You haven't engaged in BreadTube for a while?
Yeah.
We talk about this all the fucking time. What are you talking about? Anyway. What was the tweet? Zoomers have gotten so if saying anything bad, they've become puritanical and repressed as a result. Wait, I don't remember. I mean, yeah, they're technically a breadtuber. Like, they're a leftist YouTuber who does video essays and debunkings. Zoomers have gotten so afraid of saying anything. I really don't think she tweeted that. I was more referring to, like, what she said about the pronoun circle, where she said, like, oh, there's a bunch of cis women, and just because it's me there, right, they're initiating a pronoun circle, whereas I would prefer it for my gender to be assumed. And given that I'm the only trans person there, it feels like you're doing this for me, right? So it makes my presence so much more amplified when I don't want my presence there to be a statement. I just want to, blend in, right? I don't know. I think this is a perfectly understandable statement. And she didn't even, like, say, oh, we shouldn't do pronoun circles. I don't know. Where was I? As a strange loop. I get what you mean. As I am a strange loop, I am constantly performing to myself. Yeah, that's fantastic, Mythology. That's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, so there's still, like, an element to that, even though there doesn't need to be actual others. Relatedly, I consider Vosh to be very good, but even here I struggle to say that because I don't want to be judged. Yeah, I get what you mean, right? I get what you mean. I like Vosh too, of course. I do wish that... So, for example, like with his sex and gender takes, I do wish that he'd go a little bit deeper. I mean, I don't know that it's necessary for the debates he's having, but I would appreciate it if he, because we're talking about this, right? I would appreciate it if he, just digged a little bit deeper, right? Explored the concepts a little bit more, right? And here's the thing, like, let me mention this, by the way. I wanted to mention this at the start, but I forgot. I had a couple of things that I would say before starting the debate, but anyway. The thing I wanted to say is, I'm really, I don't agree with Riley's take here, obviously, but I was really triggered by the reaction that her community had, right? Because it seems to me like she's genuinely, trying to explore a concept, and even, if she's leaning towards a certain restrictive way or she's tripping up and falling, it seems to me like she's well-intentioned. And what I also appreciate is her effort to be internally consistent, right? And to make sure that what she's using as a line of argumentation stands up to scrutiny, right? And I appreciate that, right? I appreciate like the intellectual integrity of that, so to speak. And I think that the way her community reacted to this is just fucking insane. Like, I didn't like her editor resigned, or like had a fight or something. And I tuned into her stream for a second, and they were fighting, I think, with her editor or her mod or whatever. And I saw like, again, like, and the people on the stream chat, they had a reaction that I've seen before, and it really fucking triggers me. And it's what I tweeted. A lot of her Discord mods and admins resigned, if not most. Fuck me, right? Like, I don't think that's how you should handle someone falling over in their, desire to have a good theory of gender, right? It's just, so what bothers me, what triggers me a lot, and I'll explain where I've seen it before, is this insane entitlement that I see from the fans who kind of act as if they own the creator, right? And they expect and demand a certain kind of behavior. Now, of course, you can criticize her, you can disagree with her, obviously, you can leave the Discord, you can never watch her again, right? All of those things. But demanding that they fall in line with your take, especially if they're not convinced and you're not bothering to convince her, it's just maddening to me, And I've seen it before. I've seen it before in Abigail's trans joke, right, that she did before she came out, and everybody got mad, right? I don't know how many of you remember this, right? Where she said, like, for Trump, good luck to the president, her transition. And I remember, seeing tweets, for days after that were like replies to the tweet that were like, I can't believe that it's been 2 days and you haven't deleted it. Who the fuck do you think you are? What? What kind of power do you think you hold over how someone behaves? First of all, it's their fucking career and it's their fucking public image, right? So you don't have a right to dictate that. Again, you can criticize them, but it just triggers me so much that they think they should own or dictate that they have the right to make these demands. Yeah, I'll give you 2 days to delete this sweaty or else. Yeah, that kind of thing. Or like with Contra's canceling video where some people said, we're like, make sure, that you disavow ContraPoints or else we'd have to cancel you, right? Like, nice channel you got there. Would be a shame if someone canceled it. Like, oh my God. What? Who do you think you are? I don't know. Just mind-boggling to me, right? And it seems very authoritative, right? It feels like you're exerting power over them. And that bothers me, right? And let me reiterate, right? I don't think people should go without criticism. Obviously, that's literally what I'm doing right now. But that's very different from... And you can unsubscribe. You can do all sorts of things and never watch her again. But I don't think you get to make these demands, right? Oh, you're just... Okay. Perspective philosophy? Perspective philosophy had a debate with Destiny. Didn't he recently? That's nice. Hi, Libraven. It's a little bit late. Interestingly, the people who assumed they knew Abigail's gender also did so out of a parasocial feeling. That's another thing I saw. Like, a lot of people were ass mad that some people said, "Oh, I knew it" when Abigail transitioned, and it's like they painted this narrative as if it was like creepy cis people who were like behind closed doors saying, "This person is trans." It's like 90% of the people I saw saying that were trans themselves, and they recognized the signs, right? It's not creepy cis people, suspecting that someone is a sexual deviant, right? It wasn't that. I have a feeling Riley ran into a trap where she fostered much more parasocial relationship with these people than is appropriate. I don't know, because I haven't really been in her community. That could be very much the case. You should draw those boundaries, right? I am in her Discord, and I've watched her. I watch her like very sporadically, but I haven't like been an active member of her community or anything. So like I don't know if that's true, but this seems very likely, right? It feels a little rude. I feel like it sets a lot of the expectation that any sort of feminine guy must be a trans one. I don't know. Like, what does it mean? It sets like the expectation. Like, it's not like something you should like come out and say. Right? Oh, I think this person might be trans. Right? That is kind of weird, I guess. But like, the cat is meowing. Bring him in. I don't know. I think we're kind of losing perspective if we're relentlessly criticizing these very minor things that have little bearing on like the actual experience of a marginalized group in reality. Like, so many times it feels like we're so hung up on the most inane minor shit. Both me and Borlakanian, because of what he said on stream, different thing. A lot of people were thinking she was trans. That's what we thought he meant. Wait, what? No, I wasn't suspecting it myself, right? It's not something that I like even considered. I'm not in the habit of doing that, but like I don't know if that's what you got from what I said. It's very minor. Pick your battles. Yeah. So many of these things that Twitter goes crazy about are just not worth fighting. I don't know. Again, it seems like we're completely lacking perspective here. Anyway, I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick, and I'll be back. Will you entertain them? No?
Fucking site for that.
Okay, share stream it is then. How do I get out of this? Where'd it go? Baby. You want it or not? I need better cable management. This isn't very convenient. Chair. Now that I'm not interrupting stream, I think there's a general issue that people feel closer to public figures than they are. Well, yeah, that's the thing. And that this even extends to gender, where a lot of people assume someone's gender without ever being an enthusiastic affirmation about the subject. Yeah, that's also interesting. Like, one lesson you could get from the Abigail tweet thing is like, maybe don't assume that someone is necessarily says, or like maybe don't make those assumptions. Just, I don't know. It seems a little bit silly that this is the logic you get to when you have to judge everything a person says, like judge like its validity or whether they're allowed to say it exclusively based on their identity. Like, there's a place for that, I guess, but I feel like maybe we're taking it a little bit too seriously. We'll see. I talked to so many people who thought they were perfectly right to assume Abby being cis to the point of making demands on it. Yeah. Just felt it was a bad example insofar as they were right in the interpretation of her being trans. Metal hooks are nice for cables. The thing is, it's not like, the thing is, it's just, it's something that I every time, you know, I remake, like, it's not a stable streaming setup. It's not static. I always, like, formulate it. So these cables just will not be there in an hour, right? Obviously, Porlagani and I are best friends and a lovable rapscallion. That's a wonderful way to put it. That's a nice word. Of course, we're best friends. Yeah, temporary. Well, we'll see, Mythaldo, if I do get a PC at some point. Fingers crossed. Anyway, how are you people feeling? I think, like, if there's a lesson to be gleaned from this stream is that A, there's no way we're getting to this debate, and B, I should probably learn to not procrastinate and not go off on tangents. Brains. Right. I feel it's a little bit late. Yeah, we've dropped to 6 viewers, right? It's understandable. It's getting very late. I know. Here's the thing. I'm definitely going to be streaming tomorrow. So, are you okay? Is it fine with you to, like, end stream here and, like, pick it up? Yeah, I was missing my notes. Yeah. I'll probably redo it, right? Until tomorrow. Maybe, like, get my points across. But really, I should really be careful to not get derailed. Honestly, this is my main anxiety around debates. Right? I demand that you continue. See, already, you know, just 5 seconds as a public figure and people are already demanding. Okay. So, all right. What was I saying? Tangents bad. I have such a low... what's the term? Concentration window? Window of concentration? Like, I don't know. I have ADHD, and the meds that are available in my country are shit. Attention span. Why am I blanking? Fuck me. I've barely eaten anything today. That must be the case. Anyway. I have a very short attention span, and it's because I do have ADHD, and because the tangerine stream, it's because the meds I have here in my country are absolute dog shit, right? And absolute dog shit. For some people, they're very helpful, but it really depends on the person, right? So methylphenidate that we have here is not too helpful for me. I've tried amphetamines before, and they're like. They're just, it's not comparable. It's a completely different experience. It just fixes me, so to speak.
Drugs is a tangent trap.
I'm not going on the drugs tangent now, no. So, This is the exact thing that I'm afraid of when it comes to debates. Because I do sometimes take a long time to make my point the way I want to make it. And on debates that are more combative and like not good faith, it's just not gonna fly, right? Your cigarettes are probably self-medication. Yeah, absolutely, right? Absolutely. Denims took 2 hours to get through a 5-minute video. Okay, that makes me feel better. At one point, we talked about skirts. Look, if this is entertaining to you, I have no issue whatsoever. If this is content, if I'm providing content, that's all I want, right? That's all I want. Debates can be bummy, but discussions can be chill, especially with multiple people. Yeah, discussions are great. It's a little bit disappointing that I don't know if they make for good content though. I don't know. Like Vosh avoids discussions like the plague. I think he said it. Like, I don't know. He's probably right that it doesn't make for very good content, right? People demand blood. I don't know, but I'm thinking of how I have thoughts on what my rhetoric in debates is going to be versus the other styles of rhetoric that I've seen. I hope to have like a sort of rhetoric that focuses on producing cognitive dissonance, right? So like that's the basic gist of it. I think that's the most effective tool you can do. Like you can throw evidence at bigots all fucking day. There's just, if they were interested in evidence, they would have found the evidence. Like, it's not going to happen. Evidence is good when you're trying to convince normies, but bigots are never, ever going to be convinced by evidence. You have to attack the point where they get pleasure and enjoyment out of their bigotry. And you have to attack their self-conception and their denial. Anyway, the best debates are the ones that start out as conversation, like this one. There's also an issue with the American conception of debate being very different from the European one. I don't know. Like, is that true? I guess. Is it like in Europe we consider like debates to be like more academic or like university oriented? The European debate, in the European debates, you smoke. Like that's the difference.
No, the European debate is one, and it's Foucault-Chomsky. There's nothing else.
Oh, it's Foucault-Chomsky. The one European debate. Yeah. What is it, little baby? What is it? What is it, baby? Look up high school debate club stuff. It's all about performance, not the truth. That's an interesting point. It's much more prevalent in America, right? In the U.S. to do like sort of debate clubs and like in the university, but even though it's far less prevalent here, I think like if you search for it, there are rhetoric and debate clubs. I don't think I've ever like taken part in something like that. Maybe it could be interesting. I feel like it's a little bit too structured for my tastes, right? I don't know that I like strict debate structure, right? I don't know. I kind of like the one we're looking at here. Yeah, from high to fuck you. All right. So, we've been going at this for 3.5 hours. That's something we broke the record. It was 3 hours last stream. Honestly, it feels a little bit longer than 3.5 hours, which is weird. Anyway, so I will bid you all farewell. Good night. Have a very nice sleep. You've kept up a pretty good flow. That's nice. Do leave comments. No, actually, do leave comments. I have no self-conception of how entertaining or engaging this has been. So I do like feedback, as harsh or as nice as it may be. I want to know, like, what's good? What should I keep doing? Anyway, watch it back. Yeah, the thing is that I cringe so fucking much watching myself on video. it's bad. I don't know, but I'm not the only person. Like ContraPoints has said that too. So I don't know. Lexi Cuzzles said, "Stop shaking the fucking. What are you doing?" Okay, so yeah. Who else is it? Lexi has said this. Like it seems like it's a thing with people. I had this with my voice. I could not stand hearing it at all. Now with a microphone and all, and getting used to it, I can tolerate it now, right? So maybe it's gonna be the same thing with video. I definitely need to edit some of those and like post them to like YouTube. So I'll have to do this eventually. But I'm not always like the best judge, right? It doesn't mean that just because I enjoy something that it's good content and that anybody else will, right? Anywho, I love you all very much. To steal a line from Bosch. Let's take a look at the cat one last time. Dorian, say goodnight to all these nice people that tuned into my stream today. Nice to hear they'll go to. Yeah, I do have the first stream. The first stream is up on YouTube. I don't know if I've enlisted it or not. I think it's still listed. The channel is Lacanian. I think it's probably linked to my about page, right? But yeah, we'll see what I'll do with the YouTube stuff. We'll see. The looking real with it nice bear. Yes, my darling. So cute. Cute baby. Beautiful baby. All right. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you all tomorrow on a tentative time. We'll see how that works out. It's probably not going to be that late, by the way. It's probably going to be much earlier. It's either going to be the time Voss streams or even earlier, right? So keep that in mind. It's not going to be like this late. So I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll continue the gender discourse then. Have fun. Bye-bye.